on your toes and don't stop talking about freedom. So get going, lots to be learning, lots to be knowing about people. You gotta reach them, sit right down.
The Immigration and Nationality Act of 1965 turned out to be one of the most significant pieces of legislation ever passed by the U.S. Congress. Now, the people who wrote it knew that it would be, so naturally they spent a lot of time trying to convince everyone else that, in fact, it was no big deal. This is not a revolutionary bill, assured Lyndon Johnson when he signed it. The first tip that it was, in fact, a revolutionary bill. And then there was this. On the Senate floor, Ted Kennedy of Massachusetts, the man who drove the bill, went out of his way to explain that the Democratic Party was absolutely not trying to replace the American population with more compliant foreign-born voters. No way. That's an insane conspiracy theory, he explained. Quote, "This bill will not flood our cities with immigrants," Kennedy said. "It will not upset the ethnic mix of our society. It will not relax the standards of admission. It will not cause American workers to lose their jobs."
Want to get it off your chest? You're in the right place. They accuse this show of being run by boobs. Well, let me tell you something about us boobs. We're real and we're spectacular. Want politics and fun, sprinkled with a lot of laughs? Heard in every state in the Union and 770 cities around the world. We just finished our 13th year of broadcast excellence. Now in our 14th year, the Dave Weinbaum Show is streaming live all over the world. Years ago, I saw pictures of top Democrats walking alongside of then leaders of the cartels. I think it was Nancy Pelosi and a few congressmen walking down the streets. And I was curious about this strange meeting of seemingly unlikely groups. Now, I believe it's pretty obvious that, unlike Donald Trump building a wall to stop illegals from overwhelming us Native Americans, this was the plan all along, starting with the 1965 Immigration and Nationality Act signed into law by President Lyndon Johnson. They sold the bill on this, as it making it easier on both immigrants and the U.S. Certainly not a highway for hordes of illegal aliens, unknown to us, undocumented, would be treated like kings and queens, escorted on buses and taxied to airports, and flown free of charge to various cities throughout the country.
Just like you're not supposed to notice when the New York Times prints an op-ed called "We Can Replace Them," because that's a dangerous conspiracy theory. What are you, Alex Jones? No, we just watch carefully. Not even that carefully. They say it constantly. The Great Replacement? Yeah, it's not a conspiracy theory. It's their electoral strategy. And we know that because they say it all the time. Here's some examples.
Blue wave is African American. Yeah! It's white, it's Latino, it's Asian Pacific Islander. It is made up of those who've been told that they are not worthy of being here. Yeah! It is comprised of those who are documented and undocumented.
In a couple of presidential cycles, you'll be on election night, you'll be announcing that we're calling the 38 electoral votes of Texas for the Democratic nominee for president.
Many whose only IDs were arrest orders of this group are using it to get on planes, In other words, they have no ID other than an arrest warrant. Now, would you or I were to give an arrest warrant as an ID, we'd be incarcerated immediately. The Biden administration and other Democrats are now vocal about insurrection in our history and are admitting that the purpose of the illegal aliens is to take over this country in a racially and culturally motivated invasion that will take not only our breath away, but our rights as Americans. And they're doing it with our tax money and the millions of dollars distributed between them and the cartels to smuggle women, single men, children, fentanyl, and crack in partnership with the DNC. Now, I wonder what the cut is for the big guy in the Oval Office. Hi there, my name is Dave Weinbaum. I am your radio talk show host today. I'm here with my lovely bride, Lisa Ann Weinbaum. Hello, Mrs. Weinbaum. How are you?
Hello, Mr. Weinbaum.
You know, I cut myself this morning, and
Yes.
I had to. You know, I got out of my car, and you know, you kind of nick something, right? And you don't think anything of it.
Where is it?
It's here. I got to stand up to show you this, and I can't raise my leg high enough.
Is there blood?
Well, there was a lot of blood. You know what? I have a theory about that, and I'll tell you later. See in the back there on my calf.
Yes, I do see your butt.
Oh God! You know, you try to run a classy show. What do you get? Yes.
It looks like a fine bandaging
Thank you.
job. Did
Thank you.
JP have a hand in that? No.
No. I actually did it by myself.
Did it yourself?
Yeah, it's a pretty good job,
Yeah,
isn't it?
that's pretty good.
The closest I've ever been to helping with that is playing operations, so I'm definitely not equipped for any kind of like medical assistance or anything.
Yeah, well, your wife could have been here because
Yes,
she's a
yeah.
registered nurse.
Yep.
So we've got a great show for you this morning. I better get with it. And also we have J.P. Maxwell.
Yep. Good morning,
here.
everybody.
JP's here, and Rick Henderson is listening from home. Hi, Rick. And I saw a familiar face come on. He's a little early, but let me just tell you who else is going to be on the show. To start off, we're going to have the opening act to the Dave Weinbaum Show, the official opening act to the Dave Weinbaum Show, John Jeffrey Bradshaw. And then we've got Rabbi Moshe with a special song for him, sung by a Saudi Arabian musician. This is really something. You got to listen to this. We have Dr. Amy Cooper Hakim coming on to tell us all how we need to cope with this amazing pressure that we have on us right now in the country. And we have her husband coming on, Elad Hakim, who is red hot. He is going to be interviewed by Alan West, of all people. And last week he was interviewed by, what's her name again, Ellis?
Jenna Ellis.
Jenna Ellis, yeah. And then, last but not least, gubernatorial candidate and his wife, Mark and Patricia McCloskey. Okay, so we've got a great show coming on. Let's get on with our opening act, John Jeffrey Bradshaw.
Buddy, you're a boy, make a big noise, playing in the street, gonna be a big man someday.
You got mud on your face, you big disgrace, kicking your can all over the place, singing, we will rock you. We will rock you. Ladies and gentlemen, you're in for a big treat. This man is 254 years old. Used to pick up women in Ye Old Tavern with George Washington, Thomas Jefferson, Ben Franklin, and he's calling all the way from, well, this town, Rolla, Missouri. Please welcome a man who's going to give us a little slice of his experience and wisdom, John Jeffrey Bradshaw.
Thank you, Dave.
Hello there, John Jeffrey. How's it going?
You know, it's pretty good, Dave.
Good.
My life is blessed. I'm pretty unhappy with my government,
Yep.
but I suspect that you are as well.
How'd you get that? I don't know.
Well, I think it's a vibe that you put off. I have a little bit of Second Amendment for you. As you
Yes.
know, I'm an advocate.
Yes.
And we had a little mall shooting in Indiana. A young
Yes.
man named Mr. Dickon. I cannot pronounce his first name. Looks just like a jumble of letters to me. But Mr. Dickon took his legally possessed handgun and killed the mall shooter.
Yeah.
Did so from about 30 yards, almost a 100-foot shot. It's doable. But I wanted to talk to you briefly about the Indiana law because the way these things evolve is interesting to me. Missouri's law, concealed carry and constitutional open carry, is modeled after Florida's. Florida did this about 12 years ago. Indiana's law is also modeled after Florida's. So the Indiana law and the Missouri law are very much alike. July the 1st, the governor of Indiana signed into law constitutional carry, which means that any non-felon in that state who is a citizen can carry a gun concealed, can carry it open, without any permitting at all. If you are a felon, you are barred from having guns and barred from carrying them. Now, the fellow that perpetrated this mall shooting, clearly a felon. He wouldn't have been shooting innocents if he was not a felon. And a citizen, not unlike you or me, drew his lawfully carried handgun and took this guy out.
Yeah.
The network media are loath to laud these things. This fellow is being called a good Samaritan and hero by the folks of Indiana. You see very little on the network news about
No.
this.
They're against this guy.
Of course.
They think it's terrible what he did. How dare he?
It was very interesting yesterday on NPR, the national propaganda radio that is supported by your tax dollars, tried to allude that this fellow was in some way in violation of the law because the mall was a gun-free zone.
Right.
It had posted on the doors, no weapons allowed in this mall. Well, here's an interesting hook about that. Missouri law and Indiana law are both quite specific. If you are a legal carrier of a weapon and you go in a place that is not restricted, restricted places are post office, courthouse, etc.
Yeah.
But this mall is not a restricted place. They are welcome to post anything they want on their doors. But the way the law reads is this, and Missouri's is the same. If you go into that mall and you're carrying a concealed handgun or open carrying, the owners of the mall can ask you to leave. If you leave, no harm, no foul. If you refuse to leave, you're guilty of criminal trespass. Well, now any of us who are reasonable human beings, number one, are going to conceal that handgun.
Sure.
Yeah, it's stupid to carry open.
Right.
You might as well wear a T-shirt that says, "Bad guys, shoot me first."
Yeah.
So this fellow was well within his rights. He went over and beyond what one human being should be required to do to another. He took out the bad guy. He walked toward the gunfire.
Yeah.
And is being called a hero.
And he was good. He was a sharpshooter.
Not bad. For
8
a
out of
kid.
10. 8 out of 10 in a pressure situation from what 40 yards or so.
About 30 yards. Yeah, roughly a 100-foot shot.
That's pretty good.
He
That's
wasn't-
pretty good.
He wasn't going for a headshot. He was going center of mass,
Yeah.
which is a little bigger target.
Sure.
But he fired 10 rounds.
Yeah.
He did not hit any innocents.
Right.
Apparently hit the shooter several times. 'cause
8
the guy
times,
died
they said.
trying to
8 out
get
of
back
10.
into the bathroom. So is this fellow a hero? Yeah, but he's not that different than the rest of us.
Oh, he is different. He is different in that, listen, it takes a lot of guts to do what he did. If you look at the school shooting in Texas, you got cops standing there for an hour and a half letting this guy shoot kids that are begging, calling 911. And these cops are standing right down the hall and they didn't move.
That was so very badly
I mean,
handled.
how sad that was. Here are trained policemen. They're armed to the hilt, and they got kids screaming and gunshots going off, and they're holding each other back. I
Waiting for the SWAT
don't
team.
understand that.
How many people die waiting for SWAT
Yeah, it was
police
about,
officers are
it
trained
was
to
about,
follow their
what was it, about
leaders, their
20,
commanders.
19, 20?
It was a high number. I don't
Police
remember the exact number, but it was big. Yeah.
Yeah.
Police officers are trained to follow orders as our military.
Well, there you
folks.
go.
And these had orders that were very badly done right from the top.
Well, he's
I'll
out.
bet
The
you
police
that
chief
a
is
number
out,
of
from
those
what I gather.
police officers.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I talked over you.
I'm sorry, I talked over you. The police chief is out, from what I gather. He
He should have been out prior to this.
Yeah, well, exactly. This is going to be an ongoing problem forever because there was no security at that high school. When are we going to get security? We need people, good people with guns, to do security at these schools, and we need them now.
Yes, we do. Now, what I find to be interesting about the Uvalde school shooting is that their chief of police, who was their tactical officer, he was the head guy, waited until he had a critical mass of people to approach that room. I'll bet you a nickel, and I'm not a betting man, that there were officers in that hallway willing to go in that room and were told not to.
Hell, you had parents standing outside begging to go into the room unarmed to save their kids. Yeah, of course you had some. I mean, I'm sure not all those policemen were in line with that kind of reasoning of not going in. I'm sure there was plenty of them that wanted to go in. And,
they follow orders.
But they follow orders. I mean, it's crazy,
Yes,
but
do.
I guess you got to have that. But still, if you get one guy who's a terrible leader, that's what happens when you have a dictatorial system.
Indeed.
One guy.
I'll bet you a nickel again,
Yes.
and I'm not a betting man, that SWAT tactics are going to change fairly quickly after this. This will be used as an example of how things are done badly.
Why are you so confident in this one? What about the one in Florida and the others where they held back?
That SWAT tactics locally were changed as a result of that. These are fluid things. Training changes all the time as you get new information and better tactics.
Yeah.
Uvalde, I think, is going to be held as a beacon to other SWAT and other tactical people of how not to do things. Well, when you're taught how not to do things, a thinking person is going to find ways to do things better. And I believe there will be changes occurred. It's a terrible shame that these things happen, and we should arm our schools.
Yes.
I know a number of school teachers, they're kind of libs. They don't want to carry a gun. Okay, fine.
Right.
I have no issue with that. But there are plenty of veterans and retired police force who would be happy to be at those schools and protect those children.
Well, the example you see is Israel, where teachers, a lot of them are armed, they're trained, they're armed, and everybody goes to the army, IDF, the Israeli Defense Forces, and they're all carrying weapons. They have to carry weapons. And if they lose their weapon, they go to jail. How's that? Okay.
Well, how's that?
And you don't have school shootings. Why don't you have school shootings in Israel? That's why.
Well, it's the same thing that they do with El Al on the aircraft.
Yeah.
Nobody's willing to try to hijack an Israeli aircraft.
Not lately.
That's complete suicide. You're not going to make it to the door.
Yeah.
We should do that with our schools too. And I don't want our schools to look like an armed encampment. This can be done subtly. There's nothing says an officer has to wear a uniform in that school. There's nothing says he has to open carry in that school. He can look like any other civilian in that school and still get the job done. Now, maybe you say, okay, if we had uniformed officers there, or uniformed National Guard or Army folks, that would be a deterrent. Let me tell you, Dave, if you're crazy enough to attack a school, none of that's going to matter to you. None of it.
I think it would matter that they know there is a good possibility they're going to be shot before they get a shot off themselves. I think that would be a deterrent, even for the crazy ones.
It might be a deterrent.
I think. You might be right. I don't
nuts are going to do what they do. They'll put on a suicide vest and blow up the school.
Yeah.
You can't stop crazy, but what you can do is make it a deterrent for the semi-crazy to maybe not want to do these things.
And you got to do some preemptive stuff, because a lot of these people are, well, they're mentally ill almost by definition of what they did, they're mentally ill.
Right.
And the FBI knew all about these people, both of them. And they know all about them, and they don't do anything about it.
You know, I've been a critic of our national instant check system for some good long while now, where when you go to buy a handgun, you fill out a form.
Yeah.
And either by telephone or computer, your background is checked. That's fine. Mine's clear, yours clear. We could buy a gun anytime we wanted to. The trouble is with that system is local police forces rarely input data into that for anyone other than a serious felon. Yeah. If you happen to be a marginal felon or somebody with domestic violence that counts as a misdemeanor, that never shows up in that system. And the reason is local. You have local folks that are overworked to begin with. Their clerical folks are bogged down with months of backlog and paperwork. So if you get somebody that's a perpetrator that's maybe a little bit crazy, that the police, they know they're nuts, it never shows up. It never shows up in that NIC because of the backlog. And that's the feds' problem, and that's the local problem.
And the Democrats are using this as a way to end the Second Amendment. You know it, I know it, because it's what they're talking about, basically taking away your guns, my guns, the guy that shot the killer in that mall. They're talking about taking away their guns and
That's
leaving
right.
guns with the criminals because you're never going to get them. You're never going to get these guys who are their guns. We're in the hood, and I mean, the hood is the place to go if you want to get a gun. Everybody's got a gun there.
Why, sure. You can buy one out of the back of Guido's car in Chicago 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. This is not difficult. You just have the cash. So you go rob the 7-Eleven, get the cash, go to Guido, say, hey, this is what I need.
So you know Guido too, huh?
Well, he's a distant cousin, but he's on the darker side of the family.
There you go.
The fact is, though, Dave, you're never going to get the guns away from the felons.
Right.
But taking the guns away from those of us who are responsible gun owners who have killed nobody and threatened nobody is basically wrong. And you notice, I'm sure you read it, that out of the House Judiciary Committee, they just passed some serious gun restrictions. Now, whether that will actually get voted on and become law.
Actually, I heard about it, but I don't know the details. Just can you briefly tell us?
Nasty little piece of legislation dreamed up by the wackos in our Congress. Like I said at the beginning of this interview, this conversation, I'm not real pleased with my government. I think we have a House of Representatives that has gone far off the deep end. And what normally limits their power is the Senate. And we have a Senate that's just 50-50.
Yeah.
And some of the rhinos in there, they're going to side with the Dems.
Especially the leader.
You put an executive branch on top of that's nuts. And all you've got of the left of the three toes of government, if you will, is the Supreme Court, our judicial system. So
and they're trying to take them out
pretty quickly.
They're trying to take them out. The Supreme Court of all things.
So we're in deep trouble, Dave.
We're definitely in deep trouble. And now we've got 2 million people coming in alone on Biden's watch, many of whom we have no idea who they are, and they're being treated like you would want to be treated if you were a king. You know, free buses, then taxis to the airports, and you get food, you get fed, you get free tickets to go anywhere in the country. Wow.
Dave, this is a complete violation of our immigration laws.
Of course it is.
We have an executive branch that has chosen not to enforce
our
immigration laws.
You know what you call that? You call that an insurrection right there.
Well, they are undermining our democratic constitutional republic.
No doubt about it.
And they're doing so at a record pace. I keep praying that the November elections are going to overturn some of these things. We're going to get a majority back in the House and perhaps the Senate. If you look at the August 2nd elections that are coming up in Missouri, folks are being primaried. Well, good.
Yeah.
Let's get some of these bums out of here. Let's put some people in here that actually believe in our Constitution and believe in our republic.
And we got to go out of our way to make these elections honest. We both know that last election was a screw-up.
Stolen.
The 2020 election, give me a break.
Absolutely stolen.
Stolen.
And the evidence is becoming overwhelming.
Oh, yeah.
But, sadly, we have a Department of Justice that is not going to prosecute any of this. They have become politicized. They did it during Obama's regime. The same folks that Obama appointed are still in DOJ, still running things.
Yeah, you got it.
This is a very sad day for our country. The only bright spot that I can see in the conversation that we've just had is that we do have a 22-year-old man in Indiana who is willing to help his fellow man.
You know, it's guys like him and Kyle Rittenhouse. Remember him?
Yes.
It's somebody. These people stood up. They stood up for their own selves and other people. It took a lot of bravery to do that. Took a huge amount of bravery to do that. And they saved their own selves, but they also might have just saved the Second Amendment.
Oh, it saved how many innocents?
As well. Absolutely, and tons of innocents, and maybe showed who the other side was. The Antifa
Indeed.
on the other side. Trying to make this a racial situation, well, there were no blacks involved other than the black that ran and kicked him in the head as he was running away, Rittenhouse. And what, did he ever get arrested? I don't think so.
The Dems make everything about race. They want to be divisive as they can be.
Well, of course.
So the Dems expect me as a Gentile to hate you as a Jew. I do not.
Right.
But that's the expectation, and they're encouraging us to hate our fellow man. Why? Because it supports their power. I refuse to do that.
Well, I hope
now,
so.
if I'm going to hate, and I don't hate much, but if I'm going to hate, it's the liberal Democrats that I'm going to hate.
Well, and we have to defend ourselves from them because they're out there. They're saying we're taking over this country, and this is how we're going to do it. We're going to overwhelm you with all these immigrants, and they're going to vote Democrat. Although I think that's a flawed plan, personally, but it's illegal and it's insurrection. Anything else, my friend?
Ago, that would have been a valid course of action because you had Latinos who voted almost lockstep Democrat. Not so much anymore. Come in this country and see what a mess the Dems have made out of it.
Trump actually,
those Republicans aren't such bad guys.
Trump actually got a lot of Dems voting for him in 2016.
Isn't that great?
And they've lost the Latino vote, I think, and they're losing a lot of black vote too. Blacks are getting sick and tired of this. They're beginning to get this. All right, they're getting what's happening in these neighborhoods. Trump gave them a taste of the American dream, and they liked it. Now they're being told they can't do anything because they're victims.
Yes, I'm sorry. You're helpless because you're black. This is America. That's not the case.
It's an outrage, and anybody can make it in this country. Yes, there are hurdles for a lot of people, but they're not insurmountable. Okay, they're not. The American dream is out there for everybody, and that's the way it ought to be. But if you follow the Democrat Party, if you follow the liberals, they're going to tell you got no chance. You just got to be with us. We're gonna. You vote for us, and we'll take care of you. What's taking care of you? Welfare.
Yeah,
that's not taking care of you. That's not the American dream. That's going out, making a living on your own. Maybe having a business. Maybe running for office. And seeing where you can go in life. That's the beauty of America. We had that for a long time. We had it in the 50s under Eisenhower. Then all of a sudden we started getting overwhelmed with welfare and this and that, and it was ridiculous.
Johnson's Great Society plan, which was the beginning of all this disaster, has been taken well beyond its intended limits.
Sure.
That was supposed to be a safety net. Well, now it's a way of life.
Yep.
But I'm so disgusted about that.
I know.
Dave, I love our Friday morning conversation.
As do I, but all things come to an end. As most tight ends will tell you, all things come to an end. Thank you so much. J.J. Bradshaw, you have a great weekend, my friend. Thank you. All right. Well, that's kicking off the show pretty good. Let's see the board. And hopefully the board does not find anybody who's been bored. Pamela Tanner, good morning to everyone. Hi, Pamela. Let's see. Joseph Dalton, the PRC head, he says, good morning. Good morning, Joe. Good morning, Joe. That's the name of a show, isn't it? Patricia Odin Maxwell, the official pastor to the Dave Weinbaum Show and the official mother to J.P. Maxwell, the producer here. Sounding great, looking great, especially Lisa. Wait a minute. Was that a little jab at me and you?
No.
I'm her son, and I didn't even get that. So
Your
yeah,
mom?
I'm feeling a little bit left out
Thank you,
now.
Pastor
Mom,
Pat.
Pastor Pat, what's wrong with us? We're like twins over here.
Yes.
Dwayne, or Charles Peterson, you rock, JJ. I think that's his buddy. He's got fans too, you know.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Dwayne Goodrich, good morning, Dave. That may have been what happened, but I can tell you beyond a shadow of a doubt, I would have entered regardless of some moron in charge. Oh, I see what she's talking about, Valdi or whatever it is. Plus, every officer I know, and two are my sons, would have entered, period. Do individuals not think for themselves? There is more to this story than just poor training. Probably is, so I don't know. Charles Peterson, how about the guy that attacked the New York governor, Zeldin? Yeah. Will that attacker have his gun rights taken away? No, here's what happened. He had a knife. He tried to stab this gubernatorial candidate in upper New York. I think it was around Albany. And they tackled him, and they got him incarcerated. And I guess a couple hours later, he was let out of jail. How's that? Oh my goodness! All right, Tim Owens is watching. Hi, Tim. How you doing, buddy? Hi, Tim and family. Every high school graduate. This is from Charles Peterson. Every high school graduate should be given an alarm clock and the training to use it. Okay. Well, I would agree with that. How about it? Can you have it on your watch? Would that count too? Because that's what I used to irritate my wife.
Well, the only alarm clock I have is on my phone now, so that's what wakes me up every morning.
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah. It's amazing what certain things go in, like phones, home phones. Who has a home phone anymore? Does anybody?
I know my mom does, but there's not many out there that do anymore.
All right, we'd love to hear from you. So call the show 573-578-2700, and you can call and get things off your chest and help save America. Gosh, I'm serious, folks. We need to be steadfast. We are facing horrible situations. We have a president that hates America. He hates us, okay? But he's doing the bidding of the people that count to him, which are the squad, the squids, whatever they are. You've seen what the damage has been done, but regular Democrats don't like him either. You know, there's a small sliver of these people who think he's doing the right thing on anything. So your moderate Democrats, if there are still any left, they're not going along with this program. So there's hope, but you know we have to get the Republicans in line, and we have to get rid of these rhinos. You know what traitors? What traitors? Anyhow, let's do the Brits first, and then we'll do a commercial. How's that?
I love America. It's an amazing place. And do you know what I've come to realize, right? Americans, you basically do everything that we do, but you do it bigger and you do it better. Like we have stupid people here. But your stupid people are world class. And that is not me saying, oh, all Americans are stupid. No, America also has the smartest people on the planet. What I'm saying is that when America does stupid, you do stupid. Like our village idiot is in a park shouting at clouds. Yours is president.
You know, that's sad, but it's true. Come on. He's considered to be a village idiot by almost the entire world. We're talking Republicans. We're talking about Democrats. We're talking about independents think he is terrible.
And yet he got 81 million votes.
Yeah, 81 million. And we're supposed to believe this guy who couldn't draw 10 people to a announced speech, that he got 81 million votes. He got 20 or 15 million more votes than Barack Obama, right? Okay, give me a break. All right, we know that thing was stolen, and they're still calling it the big lie. Well, guess who's telling the big lie? First of all, if I believe one thing and you believe another, and you think you got evidence, and I think I have evidence, in fact, I know I have evidence, I'm not going to call you a liar until you call me a liar, that is. But I have a point of view with evidence. You have a point of view with evidence. Okay, let's try this out, get it heard in a court of law, see all the evidence, and then a judge will decide. How's that?
It's called an opinion until you have evidence to back it and becomes fact.
Bingo.
Yep.
Bingo. I don't know about you. I'm sure I've told a lie every once in a while, but not very often. I try to tell the truth. Painful as it is may be, I try to tell the truth. I try to be honest about my... Look at my wife looking at me like that. Like, well, how many times have I lied to you? We've known each other for
now
how
I have
long?
to wonder.
Well, so do I. No, you don't have to wonder because I don't lie. I tell you things that you don't like sometimes, but in my mind, they're not lies. I might apologize for some things later, as I've done, as you've done. So...
What is this, a counseling session now? What?
Dr. Amy coming on 9:15.
Dr. Amy's coming out at 9:15, baby. You know, we should talk about that in front of Dr. Amy.
No, I'm not having a public counseling
Oh,
session.
come on. It worked great for me and Aaron.
Yeah.
All right. Listen to me. We got commercials to do, and we got the rabbi coming on next. Hit the commercials. Spend money with my sponsors. Got a new one coming up. A Car Real Estate. Hit it.
Honey, what are you doing?
What does it look like I'm doing?
It looks like you're filling up a swimming pool.
Yep, I'm filling up a swimming pool.
In our living room?
How else am I going to watch the game and stay cool?
If your AC is on the fritz, call Hartley's Climate Control. Hartley's is the area's best in HVAC repairs, installs, and maintenance. Knowledgeable, honest, and dependable. Serving Rolla and the surrounding areas for commercial or residential needs. Hartley's Climate Control. Community born, community raised, community serving.
Call Hartley's Climate Control today at 573-368-3163.
Kent's Jewelry does custom engravings for almost anything. Awards, signs, guns, swords, mugs, yetis, and knives. Kent is the premier custom jeweler in mid-Missouri. We have a great staff, the technology, and equipment to create what you dream for, jewelry and engraving. Kent's Jewelry, 907 North Pine, downtown Rolla, 573-364-1030. That's 573-364-1030. Locally owned. Never be too coy to tell your friends and family about koi sushi and hibachi. Celebrate the best Chinese-Japanese restaurant in the Midwest. Call 573-426-5551 to make a reservation or order takeout. Locally owned, 1808 North Bishop, Rolla, Missouri.
We can sum up McDonald's new crispy chicken sandwich in one word. Crispy. But also juicy and tender. Okay, it's crispy, juicy, tender. All one word. But then, also pickle. Oh, and potato bun, which is two words. Okay, we can't sum up our new crispy chicken sandwich in one word, so you'll just have to try it to understand it. Order ahead on the McDonald's app at participating McDonald's. Ba-da-ba-ba-ba.
Merrill's Quarry and Asphalt, 40 years serving cities, counties, and everyday businesses with driveways for people who live and work in our little piece of heaven right smack dab in the middle of America. Call 573-578-9101 for your free estimate of rocking, rolling, paving, driveways, sealing, and striping, too. That's 573-578-9101 for your free estimate.
Your home is your castle. You don't need unwanted hassle. Don't let those creatures move in to stay. Let us protect your investments. That's what we're all about. Plank Termite and Pest Control will save the day.
Plank is locally owned and family operated right here in Rolla, a Google preferred business. Our customer service and your satisfaction is our number one goal. So call Plank today at 368-3333.
Plank Termite and Pest Control will save the day.
At your locally owned Price Chopper, our standards are high because we know yours are. See for yourself what an incredible fresh selection of grocery items we have in store. Talk to our expert meat associates about what you're looking for. They're happy to meet any special requests like custom cuts, or see our expert produce associates on how to pick out the best fruits and vegetables. Quality in the deli means fresh, full flavor, and always delicious. If you're craving fresh, baked goodness, we have that too. You can expect the best selection and the best value while interacting with our friendly and knowledgeable employees. You can find what you're looking for fast and easily at the best prices at Price Chopper. Fresh savings every day.
At Town & Country Bank, we've got all the perks of a national bank, like online banking, quick loan approval, and you can deposit your check from your phone. But that's not why our customers love us. They love us because we still offer hometown customer service. Stop by one of our 2 Rolla locations and let our friendly team remind you how special hometown banking can be. We're locally owned and will take the time to understand your needs. Smart, friendly solutions. Town & Country Bank. Member FDIC. Equal housing lender.
All righty. Hit it. In Hebrew, let's go. Rabbi.
Lo avda tikvateinu liyotam chofshi ve'artzeinu eretz Zion Yerushalayim. What's that?
A Saudi Arabian musician.
Wow.
Put that on Twitter, no less, social media, and this was to honor Israel. A Saudi Arabian. Yeah. All right, let me introduce people to, because nobody knows who the hell you are, that's for sure. Travels the world uniting Christians and Jews and Muslims. An occasional prophet about every other month. Second most powerful in Israel and his own home, according to his wife Unit. Please welcome the official rabbi to the Dave Weinbaum Show and the state of Missouri, Rabbi Moshe Rothchild. So are you back home in Israel?
No, still traveling the world.
Okay, all right. You coming this way?
I hope to be this way maybe next week.
All right, because Pastor Pat is, she's nervous. She doesn't know if you're coming or not.
Yeah, of course I'll let you know.
Well, that's kind of you. Thank you so much. So can you give me
that's the kind of guy I am.
I know. Can you give us a recap on Biden's visit to Israel and Saudi Arabia?
Yeah, well, I have to say it was a bit of an embarrassment for him in Saudi Arabia. They, he didn't get what he came for, which was an increase in oil production, and also the New York Times reporter who was murdered in Saudi Arabia, the person that they accused of the murderer being regime, he fist bumped him, and so he looked weak as can be, and and he didn't get what he wanted. That was terrible. In Israel, he said a lot of good things, but then went on to do some pretty bad things.
What did he do bad?
Giving hundreds of millions of dollars to the Palestinians in order for them to pay terrorists for killing Americans and Israelis.
Yeah.
In direct violation of the Taylor Force Act,
right,
which was an act passed in Congress. And you met his father, Dave.
I spoke right after his father.
Correct.
Yeah.
And Taylor Force, the American serviceman who was killed in Israel, and the law was named for him, that the United States is not allowed to send money to the Palestinians as long as they are paying for terrorists to kill Jews and to kill Americans in a program that they have that we've called Pay to Slay. And this law was passed under the Trump administration. But Biden came to the Middle East and renewed the payments.
Yeah, isn't that interesting? Gee, who would expect Joe Biden to do something that was against that was for killing Americans and Jews?
Right. And it's as they tell you. In any parenting class, they tell you got to not only talk the talk, but you got to walk the walk. And so he did. He said some good things, but at the end of the day, he didn't follow it up with the walk, and so that's very disappointing.
I don't know how you could say that. And look how well he's brought up Hunter Biden. All right, Iran says it has enough. Iran says it has enough uranium to make nukes. Not decided as to whether to build one. I guess that's pretty believable. I guess both sides believe that's true, including Israelis. So Israeli knows this and probably have known it for a while. They probably know everything about it. What's the plan? You there? Can you hear me?
Well, I tell you, in general, one thing Israel.
Are we losing them? All right, why don't you call me, 573-578-2700. Oh, there you are. What happened?
Yeah. I don't know what happened. It's kind of weird. Right. But what the Jewish people learned from World War II was that when someone says they're going to kill you, someone says they want to wipe you off the globe, we believe them and we take them seriously.
Yeah.
We didn't take them serious. We didn't take Hitler seriously.
Right.
Jews didn't believe that anything like that could happen.
Sure.
But the lesson we learned was that we don't take chances. We take them seriously. And when Iran is espousing that they want to get nuclear weapons in order to wipe the state of Israel off the map, we take them very seriously.
So
now, if the United States isn't going to take the threat to a Western democratic way of life seriously, because Iran is not just a threat to Israel, and if the United States is going to be playing games with the Biden administration trying to negotiate some ridiculous treaty with Iran that Trump very wisely canceled, Israel's going to have no choice but to act alone, and maybe even against the will of the United States.
Yeah.
But Israel needs to prevent a nuclear Iran. It is not only good for Israel, of course, it is good for the world.
Especially the Arabs.
Right. So, exactly. A nuclear Iran means that Iran is going to potentially arm terrorist groups with nuclear weapons. Can you imagine Hamas or Hezbollah or any other wonderful peace-loving terrorists armed with nuclear weapons? And so it's very.
Rabbi, I'm ambidextrous, but only every other day. Now you are a prophet, but apparently only every other month. Do you have anything?
Yeah.
Do you have? Are you breaking anything today? Anything you want to prophetize?
Well, the thing is, I'm in America, and I have to have the energy from Israel and the prophets like Jeremiah and Isaiah to sort of inspire me. So I'm on foreign land, So
I heard Jeremiah was a bulldog, but he drank some fine wine.
Yeah. So I don't have any prophets right now.
No prophets. No prophets for us today. Okay.
No.
Well, maybe next time. So Israel security forces captured the commander of the Islamic Jihad in Jenin, Israel. Jenin is in Israel on the West Bank.
Yeah, Jenin. Yeah. It's one of the worst places. It's a hot spot of terrorism.
In Israel. So is that a big deal that they captured the commander of Islamic Jihad there?
Yeah, it's a very big deal. It's a very big deal that Israel captured him. And this is, by the way, the same place that was in the news a few weeks ago where a journalist from Al Jazeera got killed, a woman, that there's been a tug-of-war saying killed her. So that was also in Jenin. Jenin is the place that Israel was accused of massacring Arabs. And, of course, that got tons of play all over the media. But then it was proven false. But that didn't get as much play. So Jenin, we have a bad history in Jenin.
Yeah, they tried to frame you with killing a journalist, a Palestinian journalist woman, and there's some question about whether they had the right bullet to prove it. So where is that? Where is that?
So Jenin is not. Jenin's in the West Bank.
No,
so
where is the controversy over who killed the woman reporter, the Palestinian reporter?
Right. So the bullet is now in, I think it was given to the United States, and they're letting Israel examine it.
Okay.
But at the end of the day, in my opinion, if you enter into a war zone and people are shooting at each other, you're taking your life into your own hands. No one targeted her. If you go to the Ukraine and you want to report from the Ukraine and you get killed, you can't expect to have the glory from reporting from a war zone and not take the risk. The soldiers, no one's responsible for your life once you enter into a war zone.
Sure. So, well, Lisa and I now, I haven't talked to her about this, but I found out some things that are really cool that are, we might be moving to Israel. I mean, there at the age of 75, you get free public transportation and as much Ben and Jerry's ice cream as you want. What more could I want out of life?
Yeah, well, that's it.
How do you ready to go to Israel?
It's a new law.
Yeah, how about that? How cool.
That's interesting.
Now, let me ask you a question. We talked about this for a while because we were talking about the Abraham Accords. Is there any possibility at all that sometime in the reasonable future that Israel is going to get together with the Palestinians and try to get them in on the Abraham Accords?
I don't believe so. Because again, with the Palestinians, you don't know who you're negotiating with, because you have Hamas in Gaza, and it speaks on behalf of them. And it used to be the Palestinian Authority was in Gaza, but they were thrown out by the Hamas. Yeah. And Hamas is gaining popularity in Jerusalem amongst the average Palestinian, and so it's like the Syrian civil war. We didn't know who to talk to, and so I think that could be years away, if ever.
What about Lebanon? I know you got Hezbollah there, right?
Right. Lebanon is a mess. Hezbollah is essentially it's a puppet state of Hezbollah, and
can't do that
Syria
either.
Mess, but Assad is officially back in control. But again, it's a dictatorship that could result in civil war any minute. Once again, after 7 or 8 years of civil war, so you can't negotiate with countries that are completely unstable because the next moment they could fall apart, and
sure,
whatever you negotiate, worthless.
Do you know Bridget Gabriel?
So,
Do you ever hear of Bridget Gabriel?
No.
Okay. She's a famous Lebanon Christian woman who wrote a book. She's pretty famous. She became a journalist and even was a journalist in Israel for a while. And she kind of recorded the takeover of Christian Lebanon by Islam and what she went through as a girl growing up. She's a friend of mine on Twitter, and I just wondered if you knew about her.
No, she was in Rocky when he goes to Russia. That
what? No, she's Rocky. No, it doesn't. In Rocky. Oh my gosh. Okay, this is over. Other than the DaveWeinbaum.net, where can people find and contribute?
They can go to my website, israelalliance.org, or our Facebook page, facebook.com/Israel Alliance. We'd love to hear from you guys.
You know, Rabbi, I went to a high school so tough, we had drive-by cheerleaders. Ladies and gentlemen, Rabbi Moshe Rothchild, all the way from New Jersey.
Yeah, Dave, I hate sometimes, I go to the supermarket and I'm trying to buy seedless grapes, but I accidentally buy Oreo cookies. It's very frustrating.
Yeah, sure. Is that something you wrote?
Yes, I thought of that this week.
Yeah, it wasn't that funny.
Are you?
Anyways, all right. Thank you.
Are you coming?
But you see, and then you think I'm about to say, but I accidentally buy grapes with seeds. But I said Oreo cookie. That's the joke.
Oh man, I'm going to be thinking about that one all night, aren't I? All right. Well, thanks a lot, Rabbi. I appreciate it. Hi to you and eating the kids. Shabbat shalom.
Is he coming for his coat?
Okay, Shabbat.
Yeah, we got your coat here.
Yeah, are you missing your coat right now?
Yeah.
Yeah, I doubt you're wearing it in this 100-degree weather.
No, I won't be wearing it today. Up through May, I was wearing it because it was cold.
Yeah.
All right, we got to go. You're breaking up.
Shabbat
shalom.
Bye.
Talk to you later. Okay, bye. All right, that's Rabbi Moshe Rothchild. Give him a little applause. Even though he's not listening anymore. He was kind of choppy. What was wrong with that?
I think he comes in better from Israel than he
I
does
think
from New
he had
Jersey.
a connection
Absolutely.
issue, yeah.
Yeah. What, New Jersey? It's not in Israel? He grew up in New Jersey as a kid and did not talk to one Christian ever that he knew of. They were all in this enclave community, and I think the first time he talked to Christians was on a tour in Israel. And, guess who we got next? Did you show her a picture just now?
No, I'm doing my research so I can get her
Dr.
website
Amy.
Pulled up so that
right.
I can show her link. Yep.
Yeah, we're gonna. We always have fun with Dr. Amy. She's a great guest. It's just that, if you want to talk about, she doesn't want to get too heavy into stuff, and my interview is going to be borderline into this because I want to know, how do you deal with this constant attack upon our country like this? Every day it's something new. Every day they're tearing us down. Every day they act like they want to fight us. Anyways, so let me get some of the people out here. Charles Peterson's becoming a star in the show. Sunspots Interferences. Thank you, Charles. And he's got other stuff there.
That's the other ones that we covered earlier. So
every high school should be given an alarm clock, and the training to use it. Alarm clock?
Yeah, we talked about that earlier.
Okay, well, what does that mean? Like, does alarms go off?
Probably because some teenagers and younger people have trouble waking up on time to get stuff done. Is my guess.
Okay, well, that's what I was wondering. I mean, an alarm when you have shooting going on, I don't know what good that's going to do. So possibly not. Okay, let's do Hillary. Yeah, we all love Hillary, don't we?
Oh, everybody loves Hillary. You got to love Hillary, right?
Oh, she might be.
Hillary Clinton was a Goldwater girl in 1964.
So, Satan used to work for God. What's your point?
Yeah, and they're talking about her as a possible candidate. And they're talking about Michelle Obama. She's got a book. She's selling a book right now. Okay, what does that mean? That means she's going to be on TV a lot. She's going to be talking. And they're all going to be asking, are you running? Are you running? Are you running? Are you going to primary Joe? Blah, 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 blah. And Joe is, he's with COVID and he's dimensional. So
my question is she really a legitimate choice, or is it more of like, I'm talking about Michelle Obama.
Yeah.
Or is it more to help sell the book? Making all these appearances,
we'll
getting the word
find out.
That's what I'm
sure.
curious.
I'm sure she'd get a bunch of support in the Democratic Party, and she's not Joe Biden or Kamala, for that matter. God forbid
she could be worse though.
God forbid Joe should not make it. We got Kamala. Oh my God!
Such a comforting thought.
Well, Kamala could make her vice president or something. I wonder if she gets to appoint a vice president. I don't know. Anyone
scaring
know?
us. You're scaring us.
Okay. I'm throwing out possibilities. I don't mean to scare anybody. Hell, I can't be any scarier than what's going on right now, can I? I mean, it's outrageous. Okay. So let's talk about some of the stuff that's going on in the world today. We've got Dr. Joe Biden making excuses for Joe's failure. He wanted to do so much, but events kept him down. It kept him. All these surprises came, like Afghanistan and blah blah, and shutting down the oil. The oil pipelines and things like that were, we had a lot of unemployment there. We kicked out a bunch of good people. And, it was not good for us. Not good for us. Hi there. Welcome to the Dave Weinbaum Show. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Yeah, Lee from Richland.
Hey, Lee. What's going on, my man?
All right. Yeah, make a couple comments here.
Sure.
I've had to say on the people talking about the weapons and stuff being used and wanting to ban weapons. I would wonder why that these people that's pushing for weapons that kill people are not pushing for any weapon that has been documented to kill people. That's readily available. The hammers, the ball bats, and whatever, stones or whatever.
We got knives. People are using knives now.
They only specify guns. That's it. They don't. They stop at guns. They don't talk about OJ knives or whatever.
Yeah.
They stop at guns, and so that bothers me. And also, I do want to make a comment about. I know that there's been some talk of having one of the politicians, and means well, I'm sure, but referring to having the schools pretty much have bulletproof everything in the schools. Well, you go doing that, who's going to pay for it? It's going to be the good taxpayers. It's going to be paying for all the. I mean, where do you stop at? So then they change the type of weapon to other gasolines or whatever, or they avoid the schools altogether and start on the school buses. Then you got to get tanks for school buses. I mean, then the bus stops. They just need to take these suckers out and make a public execution out of it and set an example. And that's really about all I got to say.
Well, I don't know if that's going to happen, but there's got to be better security in these schools, and you have to have people with guns with security in these schools. And JJ says, well, they should conceal carry. I think they ought to be outright like the cops are, the TSA in the airports. I think people
I'm fine with concealed carry, open carry. I have walked into many gun shows with guns all around, and I never felt one bit scared. I have stood around policemen with guns. I never felt one bit scared.
Yeah.
I see people shopping with guns. They don't scare me. I guess the only thing that would scare me was that, well, a lot of things don't scare me, but somebody stuck a knife to my throat. They stuck a gun to my head, had a ball bat, had me in the corner, getting ready to hit me with a ball bat, getting ready to mow me down with a car. That kind of stuff scares me.
If that's all at the same time, let me tell you something. You got a problem.
Yeah, I got a problem, I guess. But anyway, I just had to vent a little bit.
No, it's okay. You know, I don't know. It's pretty hot down there where you're at. You know, there's.
Yeah, we're south of the equator here. We're the equator.
Yeah,
Route
about
66.
you're way the hell out.
We're
way
on the
down
south
there.
side of Route 66. So
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
hot here at the
You
equator.
know, there's risk of blackouts. You know, I just had one Tuesday when my tee shot ended up in the water. Total blackout.
It still makes no
yeah,
sense.
I guess that was a golf joke, and I really don't know much about golf except for golf clubs.
It wasn't necessary. I still got laughter.
Don't worry, it wasn't funny either
It
way.
was funny. It was funny.
I told him earlier this week. It didn't
JP
work.
laughed at it. You should know because you
Good
always put
going,
balls
Lisa.
in the water.
Good going, Lisa. So I'll get off the radio or the phone here and let somebody more intelligent stuff talk. But
Here's some smart talk. Amy, howdy show. Hi, Dave and Lisa. Love your show. Thank you, Amy.
Amy.
We have another Amy coming on in 10 minutes. How about that?
All
What
right,
a
well,
coincidence.
y'all take care.
All right, yeah. Hi to your lovely bride, Pam.
Yeah, she's in there listening to you right now.
I know.
She's getting ready to
She
take a dog
puts
out for a
messages
walk.
on the board, and I appreciate that.
It's good to hear
She's
from you.
listening. What about you?
It's good to hear from you.
Well,
Yeah.
I just took 2 dogs out and getting ready to take 2 more out for a walk, and then I'll go back and I got to go run down and give the government some money for a license for renewal. Had an inspection done yesterday.
Okay, we don't need to know all that, but thank you so much. Have a great weekend, okay? Thanks for
Yeah,
calling.
you all too.
Bye-bye. That was a little rude of me, wasn't it?
Yes.
But I can't just sit here.
It was definitely rude.
I can't just sit here and you know, you get...
First you abuse him with a really bad joke, and then you insult.
Oh, no.
I mean, you're out of you're out of control.
Oh, my gosh.
You're out of control.
So, you know what's interesting about what he brought up about the other weapons?
Yes.
Well, there's something that kills more people every year than besides health-related stuff, and that's
Cars.
automobiles.
Cars.
But yet it's never
Bingo.
talked about, just walk everywhere.
Yeah.
Why? Because the car doesn't – it's the driver driving the car causes the accident. It's same thing with the gun. It's no different.
Sometimes it's intentional. Look at the guy that ran down those people in Kenosha, was it?
Yep.
In a Christmas parade?
Yeah, up near, I think, Wisconsin, wasn't it, right?
Well, Kenosha would be in Wisconsin.
I think so, yeah. I couldn't remember for sure what state, yeah.
Yeah. Was that the same town that was he protesting Kyle Rittenhouse?
I think it was close to that same area, if I remember right.
You know, there's some jerks on Twitter that claim to be journalists, and they're writing all the stuff about Rittenhouse, Kyle, that he somehow smuggled this gun, this AR-15, across state lines, which he didn't, and murdered a bunch of people. These are people that should be on number one on the list of who he is going to sue because they are defaming him. Okay, and he should make a lot of money off of this deal. And I call him out on Twitter.
Yeah.
You know, I said, "What kind of a journalist are you? Did you listen to the trial?"
Because it was proven.
Yeah, it was
that he acted in self-defense.
Absolutely,
overwhelmingly obvious.
Sure, he didn't kill anybody black. Hell, he came out of that and said, "You know what? I'm a fan of Black Lives Matter." I mean, there was no racial motive at all. He was strictly there to protect some friends' car dealerships that had been attacked previously. And, yeah, he had a gun for protection, but he didn't get it out of state. So it's all a bunch of lies. And here's this kid. He's out there and nearly got convicted because they had a prosecutor. They got the political aspects. They got the judge being threatened. The jury's being threatened. Actually, I'm shocked that they held the trial there in Kenosha. So, all right, if you want to call the show, 573-578-2700. Let's save the world, and let's do Pelosi Frankenstein, because they had the hearings on last night with this 1-6 committee. I watched a few sentences, and it was so stupid. What was Trump thinking when this was happening? What was he doing? And they look at him. He said they fixed a sentence and they changed the sentence, And it was just, there was no crime there. How are we going to tell people to leave the building and all that? It's just, and I shut it down. It was like 2 minutes into it. This crybaby is up there, who I actually met once. What's his name? The Republican guy that's on the committee.
Kissinger? Or?
Yeah, that's a guy. God, what a dope. I mean,
I know what Trump was doing before January 6th, and that was trying to get National Guard to, do the order to get them to come up for protection, and that was shot down by one said Nancy Pelosi. I do know that.
Why wasn't and the Capitol Police were down to 2/3 of their strength, and they didn't know what was coming? Hello, who should be on trial here? All right. Once again, let's do what did I say to do?
Pelosi.
Yeah, let's do Pelosi. This is Nancy Pelosi.
You demonize, and then we call it the wrap-up smear. If you want to talk politics, you call it the wrap-up smear. You smear somebody with falsehoods and all the rest, and then you merchandise it. And then you write it, and they'll say, see, it's reported in the press that this, and this. So they have that validation that the press reported the smear, and then it's called the wrap-up smear. Now I'm going to merchandise the press's report on the smear that we made. And it's a tactic.
This is Nancy Pelosi.
So
this is evil personified. Evil personified. And if you listen to that, that's a cold-blooded character murderer telling you what she's going to do to you. If you're in a political battle, she's going to lie about you and ruin you.
Just as Rabbi talked about that they didn't believe Hitler, and we saw what happened. They're telling you exactly what they're going to do.
Yes,
believe them. This is it.
We're putting it all together. In fact, let's do another couple clips here. We got. Let's do. Oh, I want to do one. I want to do the Clarence Thomas one. Let's do that one. Absolutely.
Some people have been spreading the rumor that perhaps you're going to withdraw. What's Clarence Thomas going to do?
I'd rather die than withdraw. If they're going to kill me, they're going to kill me.
So you'd still like to serve on the Supreme Court?
I'd rather die than withdraw from the process. Not for the purpose of serving on the Supreme Court, but for the purpose of not being driven out of this process. I would not be scared. I don't like bullies. I've never run from bullies. I never cry uncle, and I'm not going to cry uncle today, whether I want to be on the Supreme Court or not.
Now, I don't know if I have enough time to talk about this, but I had a connection with Clarence Thomas. My original lawyer when I moved to Missouri was Harvey Teitelbaum. And Harvey Teitelbaum and Clarence Thomas and Ashcroft were all attorney generals under, what was his name? Danforth. Jack Danforth, I believe his name is. And they were all working for him, Clarence Thomas. And so I had a connection there. And you know what? I'm going to tell you the rest of the story afterwards because I did meet with him about a year and a half later in his office in the Supreme Court during a lunchtime break while the court was in session, and we had a really, really good conversation.
And this comment here from Amy, that is courage.
That is courage.
That's cojones. I mean, to stand up and say, kill me because I'm not withdrawing.
Yeah.
If you're going to do it, do it.
Yeah.
I'm not going anywhere.
Yeah, and that's, I don't want to, I've lived by that. I mean, I don't know. If a guy held up a gun to me, what would I do? Who knows? But I've gotten into a lot of fights in my life that were people trying to bully me because I didn't look like a tough kid. I don't look like a tough person, but I will stand eye to eye, toe to toe with almost anybody, any size. And whatever happens, happens. And I'm almost 74 years old. I'm still here. And I mean, recently, within the last 3 or 4 years, I've gotten into very close contact with people where they either had to kiss me or hit me or something. And I wasn't backing off. And these were young people. And I know I'm going to get my butt kicked, but it doesn't, for some reason, I will still face it. Not for anything ridiculous. For example, you try to block my drive-through, and you're somebody who is working for me to put something in that you're not supposed to be there at lunchtime, that you have declared war on my customers, and I will not allow that. I just won't allow it. So, anyways, we're waiting on Amy. Amy? Dr. Amy? No. That's incredible. Huh. So, anyways, I don't even know if I have her number. Anyhow, she knows she's supposed to be here, so, probably I know what happened. Elad hid the phone. Well, I'll keep talking then, because I will tell you about the conversation I had with Clarence Thomas. I was staying in a hotel in D.C., and I was there for a conference with the McDonald's committee on government, and I decided I would take a walk by myself. Oh, there she is. Okay, well, I'm going to stop now because we have this lovely person sitting there waiting to be talked to, and I'm going to do that after we hear her song.
From the lakes of Minnesota to the hills of Tennessee, across the plains of Texas, from sea to shining sea, from Detroit down to Houston, New York to LA. Well, there's pride in every American heart, and it's time to stand and say, I'm proud to be an American, where at least I know I'm free. And I won't forget the men who died who gave that right to me. And I'd gladly stand up next to you and defend her still today. 'Cause there ain't no doubt I love this land. God bless the USA.
Wow, who sang that song anyways? I'm sorry, I didn't hear you.
I did.
Oh, okay, all right. I get goosebumps every time I hear that. You're so good. Anyways, ladies and gentlemen, Bad Boss expert for employees and ordinary citizens. She's an author, motivational speaker, star of radio and podcasts. Please welcome the shrink to the Dave Weinbaum Show, all the way from Boca Raton, Florida, Dr. Amy Cooper Hakim. On a scale of 1 to 10, how much should we be, let's say, hurt by people who are destroying America, and what should we do about it?
Wow. Well, I think that we have to make that decision for ourselves. But I feel, very much that we need to choose to be the change that we want to see.
I don't understand.
I don't have a number for you because
I don't speak doctor's psychology. You're going to have to tell me the thing that we want to get. We have to act like it. That sounds to me like we should go to war.
Every day we choose to be positive despite negativity around us. Every day we choose to look for a different path, a different way to get to our end goal.
Okay.
That's a choice that we need to make consciously each day. If things are going great, we need to choose to continue to have that go on that way. And when it doesn't go well, we need to say, gosh, this is really bad. Dave, on that scale of 1 to 10, if you're on a 2 or a -2, you need to say, you know what, this is not acceptable. What are we going to do to make this better?
Are there things being done right now that you think might be unacceptable?
Can you ask that to me again?
Are there things being done right now? Let's talk about the border. Is that unacceptable, or is it okay?
I didn't hear the first thing you said. What?
The border, the open border, and this. Yes.
Oh my gosh!
You know that thing on the border. You know.
Other things. No, listen. I really have just a layman's view of topics like this.
Okay.
I think
what would you like?
Immigrants should be legal, and I think that immigrants should be welcomed in our country. And I think that if it's done the proper way, then that's great. And I think that there should be exceptions made when necessary.
What would you, in this day and age, what would you like to talk about?
Oh my! Okay, so you can have your pick. My favorite talk that we've had recently was when we were talking about how to best manage, within your business. I love helping to deal with any type of workplace relationships. I actually recently had something that I spoke about in a different venue, because I think it really hits to what many people do. Let's say that there's a problem as a boss, as a leader. Do you admit to the problem? Do you ask to discuss the issue? Do you try to make things right? Or do you say, you know what, hey, I'm going to ignore or pacify the situation, and then once it's not as fresh and as as emotionally laden, then we can either discuss it, or maybe that person will cower it out and not want to talk anymore. That's generally the way we see leaders act. And I really encourage leaders to step forward and say, look, I see you're uncomfortable, or I see there's been this issue. Let's talk about it. Let's fix it.
So you want to face the problem right then and there on all problems, or just some?
No, sometimes we need to take a break.
Yeah, exactly.
Sometimes we need to stop and pause before responding. Just because we want to address an issue doesn't mean that we need to address it right then. In today's fast food environment, but really it's this fast food society, what we end up doing is we think everything has to be quick. Everything has to be fast. Someone texts me, I need to reply. Someone calls me, I must answer. Someone emails me, I need to respond right away. I generally have really because I choose positivity. I generally have positive interactions by email, but I actually had a really caustic, negative, yucky thing happen yesterday.
What happened?
So much so that I yelled at my computer screen.
Uh-oh.
Now, I could have quickly typed something back and had this scathing, nasty back and forth, but I didn't. I waited, and I chose my words carefully, and I nipped it in the bud. It was with a number of people and different higher-ups, and it all was tied in a nice little bow. All fixed.
Okay.
It didn't have to be. It could have escalated, and it could have been nasty. But I chose a different route and made sure to present the facts, taking emotion out, and it worked.
So, but you didn't wait. You did that immediately, right?
No, I waited.
You waited, okay.
I waited. It was a few hours. It wasn't like.
Yeah, okay, all right, I get that.
Oh yeah.
I think that's a good thing.
That was immediate. The yelling at the screen was immediate.
Yeah, right, and I think that's a good thing. I think there are things that I wait sometimes to solve a problem. I'll wait for a couple years.
Oh, see, no. You can wait a day.
Well, you have to understand what I'm talking about. These are long-term things. When you have a big corporation coming after you, and you know they're coming after you, then you've got a plan. You've got to wait a while. You've got to let's say let events that are going to happen, like when people who are bullies, they attack you. Sometimes they get bored and they think they've won the game, and you just let them think that for a while, and pretty soon they're going to trip up, and that's when I go after them.
Right,
and they are absolutely shocked every single time. It's happened a couple times in my life. Absolutely shocked, and I ended up winning the situation. Now,
good, but what you did, though, Dave, I'm sure, is you had things in your back pocket ready to pull out when you needed it, so you were preparing yourself for that.
Well, I didn't at the moment, but I knew I was right.
Over that time.
I knew I was right, and I knew they were wrong, but they had the power. So I had to wait for a while to even things out a little bit. Some things. I was always trying to do a good job with my businesses, always trying to get the best service and all. But when they come up with some stuff that's just outrageous and that I can't really defend at the moment, I wait around for a while. Keep building the record.
Sure, that makes sense. But as long as you're keeping that electronic paper trail or paper trail, as long as you have something available that you can pull at the ready, then using it strategically can work.
I have had people completely turn around and almost apologize to me. But it, and I didn't feel very good about having to wait. But I knew that if I was going to win this, I had to be patient and I had to have the facts. And
I think people end up coming and seeing the light at some point.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, sometimes it's too late. It's too late to repair. But when it works, it can do wonders for relationships.
Well, you want to do what you want to do, okay? And if you want to have, for example, your children in your business, and you got people saying, no, you can't, or you will pay a big, big price for this, and that's not in the contract, then it becomes something that you have to plan to fix other ways.
Sure.
That's why your husband is a lawyer, you see.
I actually called him into my office yesterday. It was bad.
It was bad?
I said, I need legal counsel. This is not acceptable.
Did he make you pay?
I didn't have to pay for him. No.
Oh, okay.
He just read over my message before I sent it.
All right, well, that's good.
But really, it was all beautiful, tied up in a bow. I love that.
Well, that's good. You married right. You married okay.
I did.
Can I show you a risque joke?
Sure.
About a lawyer? You sure?
Tell me.
Okay, I've showed this to your husband. Now, don't get mad at me, okay? It's a joke.
Okay.
Hit it.
Happy Sunday. Same rules apply as always. If you don't have a sense of humor, please just keep scrolling. So a woman makes an appointment with her gynecologist. After her examination, he tells her that everything looks great. And she said, well, good. I'm getting married tomorrow for the 4th time, and I just wanted to get everything checked out. And the doctor looks a little perplexed, and he said, but ma'am, based on your examination, all things point to you being a virgin. I don't understand how you've been married 3 times. And she said, well, actually, my first husband was also a gynecologist, but he only ever wanted to look at it. And then my second husband, he was a psychiatrist. He only wanted to talk about it. And then my third husband, he was a contractor, and he just kept saying, we'll get to it next week. But this time, I'm marrying a lawyer, so I'm sure I'll properly get screwed.
Okay. All right. I feel bad about that. I really do. I was listening. You shouldn't have done this. I'm sorry. Forgive me. Forgive me.
Don't you normally give me the PG jokes?
Well, yeah, I do. Okay, it was a risk. It was a risky thing to do, and I was thinking all the way through this. Oh man, you blew it this time. You screwed up this time.
No, it's all good.
Now Elad thought it was a riot. I played that for Elad.
And we did wait last time to make sure that their daughter was not in the room whenever we played it for Elad.
Now you had a daughter. She was in the car or something like that, or in the room. And apparently,
we had 2 kids traveling, and one of them came home last night. We actually got home from the airport around 2. So I fell asleep at 3, and Elad at 4. So he's he can operate on much less sleep than me.
Okay.
But anyway, we both were up and ready for the Dave Weinbaum show.
Oh well, cool. How cool is that?
Missed it.
And here I go telling a bad joke and tick you off. I'm sorry. Anything else you want to talk about?
You did not. I am just honestly very buttoned up. I'm, prim and proper kind of thing. And when I use curse words or do stuff like that, like people laugh at me because it's more of a rarity. But I just, if something falls on my toe kind of thing.
Oh.
But it's, I think first of all, I think that was a very funny joke. But it's just generally I'm used to the other kind that you do.
Okay, well, I'm sorry about that. And
there's
next
nothing
week,
to apologize
well,
about.
you're sort of forming my behavior. You see?
Well, that is my job.
I know.
How does that make you feel, Dave?
I am trying to make you feel like I'm trying to please you and getting information out that I think is important too.
I love that. Yes.
All right.
Yes. It's important. It's important to have that happy balance. You know?
Like me and my wife have.
Aw, that is so sweet.
We have such a great.
Scoot over more?
We have such a great relationship, right, honey? She's not answering. No. Oh, wait a minute. Oh, she's got. Is that right that she has a whip in the office? That's wrong. Stop it. Oh, you're embarrassing in front of my shrink here.
You're so abused.
Oh, man.
It's terrible.
He's so abused.
It's terrible. What else you want to talk about?
So thank you for asking me to talk about all these things. This is great.
No, I like this.
Yeah.
Okay, I do. Well, this is a woman's issue, and it's a little bit risque again. But
I happen to like that stuff, just not in public.
Okay, all right. Well, we'll pretend like we were having dinner with you and Elad and my wife, and we told that joke. Then you'd be laughing all over yourself, right? Yeah, wouldn't you? All right. But you've got this situation now where women are so ticked off. Some women are so ticked off by Roe versus Wade and Dobbs that they are choosing sterilizing themselves. And Dems are sort of promoting this. But there are a lot of men who want them to do that so they don't have to be fathers and pay for the children. What are your thoughts on that?
I just think that's ludicrous and stupid.
That's what I wrote. Ludicrous and stupid. Yeah. No, I didn't.
I think that it's, first of all, it's their choice. If that's the choice they choose for themselves, that's well and good. But if it's in reaction or response to that decision made by the Supreme Court, then I would just urge people to really understand what it was that was said and done. And basically, it's not saying it shouldn't happen, just that it should be at the state level to decide. So I think that making decisions in a rash way and conforming to what the culture is doing in general, right? Trending toward whoever's the loudest, biggest voice. And you have to jump on that bandwagon or you're going to be cast aside. People going to that extreme. I think society is really in a dour place and we need the pendulum to swing back around. We do. We need it to.
Yeah. And it's such a sad thing to do.
Those types of things, while I'm sure there are surgeries that can reverse it, technically they're irreversible and yucky. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, that's a very, very touchy subject. And when I was listening to I was hearing the changes and things that were made. I was as a female, I was like, oh gosh, I'm not sure this is a great move. I respect the court. But I'm not sure that this is going to bode well for the Republican Party. That was
that's an interesting line of thought in that women might say, well, they just killed our rights, but it really wasn't as a legal matter. Your husband will tell you it's not.
Exactly. So that's what the messaging has to be, though. More people have to be able to say that.
They're not going to say that.
Because my emotional reaction. My gut was, oh gosh, we don't want to go backwards. But once I listened and once I heard what was said, and I recognized that that's not what was said, and forget what people are saying on Facebook or Twitter or any of the liberal media, even some of the more right-leaning media, take that away and just actually look at the words.
It's like it's
okay. And we want that. We want that freedom. And also, I don't think that people should be able to choose when we want states to have certain freedoms and when we don't.
Yeah, and it's like the gay law. They call it the gay law, and it has nothing about being gay in it. The word gay doesn't appear in the law that's in Florida about teaching kids about different genders.
I am so appalled at what is forced to be accepted in today's society. We have to be allowed as parents to form certain things, or at least to preserve the wholesomeness of our children for a longer period of time. I feel for those who are struggling with issues like that and don't feel comfortable in their own bodies. But I feel that someone at age 4 or 8 or 6, that they shouldn't be able to make those decisions. And if they're thinking that way, then through therapy and proper medical care and attention, if that's the decision that's made as an adult, then that's a different story. But to teach young children about things different, I'm struggling very much with that type of line of thinking,
Yeah.
and how it's being forced on those who may not necessarily ascribe to those beliefs.
Sure. Hey, other than DaveWeinbaum.net, Dr.
Like,
Amy.
all right, we're done. We are talking about love and happiness next time.
Well, I wanted to end that right there. Well, no. Okay, what do you got? What's going to cheer us up? I got something that's going to cheer you up, I think. You know, Dr. Amy, I loved being a cereal maker. I was always drawn to nuts and flakes.
See
that? There you go. How's that? Okay, that's a psychiatry joke too. Where do psychiatrists camp?
Where?
Intense. Okay. Now you got two laughs at the end. They were clean jokes. You can tell the family.
There you go. Stick with those for me.
Okay. Well, there are boundaries, and every once in a while you got to stretch the boundaries.
No.
I never would have married this woman had I not stretched the boundaries. Think about it. I mean, sometimes you got to say.
Why? Because I was too normal?
Yeah, this is how normal she was. The first time she saw me, and we were sitting next to each other at a bar, I had my glasses like this, and you know what she said?
What?
She says, "Oh, I remember you. You're Dave Weinbaum. I used to work for you. I hated you." And then she turned around to her girlfriend and said, "We got to go. We got to get out of here." Okay? Yeah. Okay, so
Yes.
for me to say anything after that would have been you're almost like you really poisoned the situation just by being there. I don't remember. She worked for me when she was 16. Think about that. And we met when I was like, what was I, about 68? And you were like 57 or something?
9 years ago.
Yes, it was 9 years ago. Okay. See, I'm always going down these little paths that probably are dead ends. So, anyhow, we're going to be talking to Elad next. And anything you want me to tell him?
Tell him what?
I don't know.
Anything
By
I
the
want you to
way, since my session with my son and you, when we were in Orlando, we've gotten along fantastic.
And by the way, that was so much fun. I'm always happy to have that type of dialogue with you guys.
We needed Dr. Amy during the conversation you and Emma had during rehearsal yesterday.
Uh-oh.
Oh, my gosh. Well, we got so many things going on. Anyways, where can people find you and hire you to either give a speech, or where can they buy your book?
Thank you. So my website, cooperstrategicgroup.com or amycooperhakim.com. I am on all types of social media platforms.
Because you love it.
YouTube, LinkedIn, Twitter, Facebook at Amy Cooper Hakim. My book, Working with Difficult People, is sold anywhere books are sold. It's also an ebook and audio format.
By the way, do you consider me a difficult person?
No, I think I really don't. I think that you are adorable. I love talking to you.
I love talking to you too.
I think that you do such a service for society by sharing important information and allowing others to share their views.
I think the most important thing I do is, at my age, try to be relevant. And I think a lot of people turn themselves into being irrelevant. My father did that, and he told me he did it 2 weeks before he died, Pompano Beach, Florida. And that really set me on a course of never really wanting to retire as long as I could be relevant, you know?
And you serve a purpose, you know, when you have that relevancy, but you do so with purpose.
Yes.
And I think that drive is admirable, and I think it inspires others.
Well, that's very, you've always been a great guest. You were there when I got canceled the last time. Remember that?
I remember.
After 10 years. And some remember that? The idiot the idiot manager, who's no longer there, by the way, says, you got to cancel this interview. He says, what do you mean? It's on in 15 minutes or 20 minutes? I said, I'm not canceling anything. No, call her and tell her it's off. I says, you call her. He wouldn't do it. So just to be kind, so I didn't want to stand you up. I called you and said, apparently this guy doesn't understand what I'm supposed to do here, because I was told to arrange interviews for this particular segment of a show, and then the new guy comes in and bounces that off of me. Well, that resulted in my being released. Oh, well. And I never missed a Friday. Here's my attitude. Never miss a Friday unless it's a big vacation or something.
Sure.
All right.
Good
Shabbat,
for you. I like that.
Shabbat shalom,
Well, so
my
nice
friend.
Nice to see you.
Shabbat shalom, and get
Shabbat
your husband.
shalom.
Tell him. Is he wearing a tie today?
You know, he actually said to me, he said, Dave asked me to get dressed up. He said, I went to bed at 4 a.m. He's going to go again.
All right, he doesn't have to get dressed up. Just make sure he's wearing pants, will you?
Well, you know, you can only see from up here anyways.
Well, I know that, but, you know.
No, he's wearing pants.
Okay, that's great. Hey, thank you. Shabbat shalom.
Thank you.
Hi to your
Shabbat
kids,
shalom.
too.
So nice to see you guys.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Yeah, what a sweetheart. Wow. Isn't that something?
And I had never heard the story of you guys meeting, so, yeah,
well,
I mean.
That wasn't a meeting. She had already been on my show a couple times.
But that's what led to.
Yeah. This was I think she started the show about 20.
It was a re-meeting.
Let's see. When did I get?
I re-met him like 30-some years later.
Yeah, it's about. She got on the show about 2016 or so.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I don't even know. I can't remember how these people get on my show.
No, I was actually more curious about you and Lisa meeting, and then yeah, I had never heard that story before.
Really?
Yeah, no.
Yeah, I watched.
No idea.
Wow.
Oh, okay. I'll tell that story. Do we have time?
Oh, Lordy.
I think we have time. Yeah.
Well, I divorced for a couple years, or maybe a year and a half or so. Went on a few dates, and it just wasn't doing anything for me. I was, and they weren't bad people or anything. I just didn't want to do this anymore. You know, just sick of it. And so I was by myself. What are you doing? Will you stop it? You're interrupting me because she's shy.
It wasn't your monologue.
Huh?
It wasn't your monologue.
All right. Anyhow, I'm by myself. I do the radio show. It was September 21st, 2013, wasn't it?
Yes, 2013. September 20.
Yeah, or 20. All right, so I'll give you that. Anyhow, I'm by myself, so there was a Cardinals game, a playoff game on, so I went to Colton's, and I always like to sit at bars because, sitting alone, I used to do that too, but it's more fun at bars. It's not just to see women and stuff. Get into conversations, huh?
You never cooked. That's what you had to do for dinner.
No, I could cook. I could take care of myself. Don't worry about it. I've often done that, and you know that. Anyhow, I get in there, and all the seats are taken except for two on the end. And I notice there's a purse sitting on one closest to the woman there, who happened to be her. And I could have sat on the end, but she looked kind of good from the back. And I said, would you mind moving your purse? And she said, yeah. Put it over there. And I was of the custom. I always brought a bottle of wine with me. I always bought it, retail somewhere in St. Louis, probably at Lucas Liquors, which used to be a sponsor, by the way. And so I bring a bottle of wine in, and like I said, she looked pretty good, and she wasn't paying any attention to me. So I told the bartender, I said, get her a glass. Put some wine in her. So puts the wine in. And she's looking at the wine, and the bartender says, it was him. He gave it to you. So she looked at me, and she, smile on her face, and all of a sudden it was, you're Dave Weinbaum. I used to work for you. I hated you. And she turns to her girlfriend and says, can we get out of here now? Can we get out? Come on, please. And so...
Poor thing.
Yeah, I mean, I was, it wasn't that big of a deal because I was already in a mood that I didn't care anymore. So she didn't like it. That's fine. But then she stayed. Their girlfriends convinced. Didn't your girlfriends convince you to stay?
You scarred me for life at a very young age.
Oh, stop it!
With your scowling and unhappiness.
Yeah, because I happen to look like this. Because I had my.
There were no smiles.
Oh, come on. Well, how did I get so funny overnight? Okay, I mean, I was funny before I met you.
Yeah, well, let Amy come into your workplace environment and then analyze you.
Yeah, okay, it's fine. She'd like to do it, I'm sure. All right, anyhow, so we started talking and, got along okay. And then I told her, I says, I've got a dog in my car. I should take my dog with me places in the car because I didn't want him sitting alone in the house because he would do stuff, as he does sometimes to our house. And so she came out, actually saw my dog, and I says, can I call you? He says, yeah. So she gave me her number. Well, what did I call you, 8 o'clock in the morning next morning?
Yes, on a Saturday.
Yeah.
She still remembers the time.
Yeah. So we arranged, and we went out.
You took me to Matt's.
And 2 days later, and we had our first kiss. And 2 days later, all of a sudden she's got water in her basement or something, and she had nowhere to go. So I invited her to, stay at my house, and we've been together ever since. Now, about a couple days in between that time, where she's staying in the house now, I had a lunch with my lawyer then, a guy named Chuck Tote, who has since passed, and he had worked on my third divorce with my then wife. We weren't married anymore. He got the divorce over, and we sit there talking, and he says, now that you're single, let me cover a few rules. I says, what do you mean rules? He says, well, I want you to listen to me here because you're going to get yourself in trouble again. And I said, okay, what are they? He says, if someone you're dating has a catastrophe happen to them, their house burns down or is flooded, you do not move them into your house. Do you understand? And I says, well, I think you're a little late. He says, what are you talking about? He says, I says, well, I already moved a person in my house because her house flooded. He says, you're never going to learn, are you? You're just never going to learn.
My house imploded when you came to pick me up for a second.
Yeah, right. Yes, it imploded.
My second floor.
I don't believe it was intentional.
My second floor was on top of my entertainment center.
Yes.
In my main floor.
Oh. So whatever, if this was intentional, she did a hell of a job. So that's how we got together and stayed together, and we're still together, and we still kind of like each other, I think.
Until today.
Well, I always get. The funniest part.
We'll see here at 11 o'clock when the show's over.
Yeah, the funniest part about it is we kind of insult each other all day, and a lot of it turns into jokes. Mm-hmm. And so she's something else. All right, now. No, the phone lines are not down, and this is another guy. I know there's a problem there. Let's see. What do you got for me?
Do you want me to call?
Yeah, this is
the crazy guys.
We've got all these read so far, so we're good.
Yeah, we're good. Okay, that's good. All right, well, let's see what we got here. We've got coming up in 10 minutes, 12 minutes, we've got Elad Hakim. We've done the 2 sets of commercials? Or just one? Oh, okay, well, we're going to do that, too. Let's do Seinfeld Confession.
Tell me your sins, my son.
Well, I should mention that I'm Jewish.
Well, that's no sin.
Oh, good. Anyway, I wanted to talk to you about Dr. Watley. I have a suspicion that he's converted to Judaism purely for the jokes.
And this offends you as a Jewish person?
No, it offends me as a comedian. And it'll interest you to know that he's also telling Catholic jokes.
Well...
I mean, and they're all jokes. I mean, the Pope and Raquel Welch in a lifeboat.
I haven't heard that one.
Oh.
That is precisely what this bill did. This bill changed America completely and forever. And the numbers show it. In the years since that legislation passed, the United States' total population exploded by 140 million people. You're seeing that chart on your screen right now. What direction does it point? Well, steadily upward. That's the population. Now, where did all those people come from? There's nothing wrong with more people. The question is, who are they and where do they come from? Well, what you're seeing is not the kind of organic growth that you would see in a healthy society that's become more prosperous and welcoming of families. It's not like people were so confident in the future they decided to have more kids. No, it's just the opposite, exactly the opposite of that. In fact, since Ted Kennedy's bill became law, birth rates among native-born Americans, which are the clearest possible measure of optimism in the future, those have dropped off a cliff. Sometime around 1965, our leaders stopped trying to make the United States a hospitable place for American citizens, their constituents, to have their own families. That used to be considered the central task of leadership, perpetuating the population. If people are happy and confident, they'll have kids. They're vested in the society, and if they're not, they won't. That was their job. So they stopped doing it, and instead they just imported new people. That's literally what happened. Now, you're not allowed to point this out, of course. The media become absolutely hysterical when you do because it's so obviously true. What's interesting is that if something like this happened in any other country, say in China or Japan or Nigeria, the populations of those countries would likely revolt because you can't do that. The leaders of a country can't change the population of the country, especially in a democracy, without the consent of the existing population.
Okay, we're back. And we've got Elad coming up, but we've got to do some commercials. So let's do that right now. Hit it.
With warmer temperatures right around the corner and allergies ramping up, now's the time to get those AC units serviced. At Hartley's, we pride ourselves in offering outstanding service with fast response times. With proper maintenance, you can make those hot days be a lot cooler and remove those pesky allergens that always seem to find their way into your home. Call us today so you can be living a much cooler and healthier life. Hartley's, community born, community raised, community serving.
Call Hartley's Climate Control today at 573-368-3163.
Kent's Jewelry does custom engravings for almost anything. Awards, signs, guns, swords, mugs, yetis, and knives. Kent is the premier custom jeweler in mid-Missouri. We have a great staff, the technology, and equipment to create what you dream for, jewelry and engraving. Kent's Jewelry, 907 North Pine, downtown Rolla, 573-364-1030. That's 573-364-1030. Locally owned. Never be too coy to tell your friends and family about koi sushi and hibachi. Celebrate the best Chinese-Japanese restaurant in the Midwest. Call 573-426-5551 to make a reservation or order takeout. Locally owned, 1808 North Bishop, Rolla, Missouri.
We can sum up McDonald's new crispy chicken sandwich in one word. Crispy. But also juicy and tender. Okay, it's crispy, juicy, tender. All one word. But then, also pickle. Oh, and potato bun, which is two words. Okay, we can't sum up our new crispy chicken sandwich in one word, so you'll just have to try it to understand it. Order ahead on the McDonald's app at participating McDonald's. Ba-da-ba-ba-ba.
Merrill's Quarry and Asphalt, 40 years serving cities, counties, and everyday businesses with driveways for people who live and work in our little piece of heaven right smack dab in the middle of America. Call 573-578-9101 for your free estimate of rocking, rolling, paving, driveways, sealing, and striping, too. That's 573-578-9101 for your free estimate.
Your home is your castle. You don't need unwanted hassle. Don't let those creatures move in to stay. Let us protect your investments. That's what we're all about. Plank termite out of pest control will save the day. Plank is locally owned and family operated right here in Rolla, a Google preferred business. Our customer service and your satisfaction is our number one goal. So call Plank today at 368-3333. Plank from out of pest control will save the day.
Busy schedule? Let your locally owned Price Chopper help you save time with online shopping. It's easy. Sign up to tcmarkets.com or download our mobile app in the App Store or Google Play. Create an account and browse through the categories and choose the items you need. When you place your order, your personal shopper will get all of the items you've selected, taking the same care you would and following your notes. We offer free curbside pickup, so you don't even have to get out of your car. Start your online order today and no online shopping fee for a limited time. Go to tcmarkets.com or download our mobile app to get started. Price Chopper. Fresher savings every day.
Maybe it's for a kitchen you've always wanted. Maybe it's just to have a little extra room. Whatever the reason you're considering a new home loan, it's good to know that Town & Country Bank will guide you in the right direction. Our experienced local lenders are here to help you with a new home construction, remodeling projects, and fixed and adjustable rate home loans. You can even start the process online by clicking Online Mortgage Center at tcbanks.com. Smart, friendly solutions. Town & Country Bank. Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
The new Amazon Echo has everyone asking Alexa for help.
Alexa, what time is it? What the hell is wrong with this blasted thing? Amanda!
But the latest technology isn't always easy to use for people of a certain age.
These kids have bought me a busted machine again. Oh, yes, sir.
That's why Amazon partnered with AARP to present the new Amazon Echo Silver, the only smart speaker device designed specifically to be used by the greatest generation. It's super loud and responds to any name even remotely close to Alexa, so they can find out the weather.
Allegra, what is the weather outside?
It is 74 degrees and sunny.
Huh?
It is 74 degrees and sunny.
Where?
Outside.
What about it?
The temperature outside is 74 degrees and sunny.
I don't know about that.
The latest in sports.
Clarissa, how many did old Satchel strike out last night?
Satchel Paige died in 1982.
How many you get?
Satchel Paige is dead.
He what now?
Died.
Who did?
Satchel Paige.
I don't know about that.
Pretty funny. Here's a couple things that I have. Do we have any more messages, by the way?
Nope.
Okay. Under the red flag laws, where there's something wrong with you and you're reported, and they can take your guns, do you think they ought to report Biden, and should he be prevented from being in charge of our nukes? Let me know. 573-578-2700. Get it off your chest. Ron DeSantis, he says that Biden ought to make ethanol, ought to declare it a weapon of mass destruction. Does anyone agree with that? I certainly do. And it's all over this country, and it's coming from where? The border. And who's getting money? Well, I'll tell you who's getting money from it. The cartels, and I would bet my bottom dollar that the DNC is getting a payback for that. They're getting it. And Amy Howdyshell, she agrees with Tucker Carlson. We got more of that, but pretty soon I don't have enough time to run any more clips right now because we've got a high-powered lawyer calling the show, Elad Hakim, and he'll be on shortly. The D.C. Mayor Browser, she's very, very, very hacked off that Governor Abbott had the audacity to send illegals to D.C. How dare he bus illegals to D.C.? She says it must have been a trick. Yeah, the trick is if Texas is going to be ruined, well, maybe we should ruin D.C. too, you know? And the Colbert 8. This is the staffers from his show. These people who invaded the Capitol, who did the same thing, the same crime, as we're talking about that the 1-6 committee is now working on, and all these people from the 1-6 that are in jail right now with no due process. These people were let off. The staffers from the show, the Colbert's show, the comedian, and they were charged with the same trespassing that these other people were charged with that are in jail, and they've been left out of jail, although I've heard they're going to relook this again because the Capitol Police are angry. All right, well, our next guest is ready, and boy, does he look tough. Man, I'll tell you what, I don't want to mess with him. Let's hit his song, please. Maybe that'll cheer him up. I know he's tired. That's what it is. He's tired. Yeah, there he is. Ladies and gentlemen, powerhouse South Florida lawyer. He writes on the confluence of law and politics, star of TV and podcast, and he is the Perry Mason to the Dave Weinbaum Show, and he has appearances with Jenna Ellis and now Alan West. Holy cow, he's getting to be a big star. Thank you so much for being here with your humble host, Dave Weinbaum, Elad Hakim.
Hi, Dave.
What, did you flunk applause?
No, the button, I hit it, but it wouldn't go. I had to hit it a second time.
My button was resisting you. Glad to see you're in a tie and a suit again. And how are you?
I'm well. Sorry, I was going to try to do that, but I just didn't get any sleep.
No, I appreciate the fact that you guys both called on a diminished sleeping schedule. I myself got plenty of sleep last night, even though I worked my butt off preparing for you. So let's get started. Prosecutors in Durham are investigating Hunter for crimes other than income tax, and this thing's it's either going to produce some charges or it's not. What do you think?
Well, I hope so. It's hard to tell because everything is so politicized. So, your guess is as good as mine.
Well, my guess is that they're going to charge him with some minors. I think the best thing for them to do, they want to keep this low key, is to charge him with minor stuff and get him to pay a fine or whatever. Maybe send him to, I don't know, they're not going to send him to jail. They wouldn't do that. But they'll make him pay some money, and then they'll say it's over. What do you think? You're a lawyer. You know how these things work.
I'm a civil lawyer, not a criminal lawyer. But listen,
you're not very civil to me sometimes.
It doesn't matter if you're a lawyer or not. I mean, the bottom line is everything is so politicized that, lawyers don't know much better than non-lawyers. It's just a matter of, what they feel like doing. If this was a Republican and one of Trump's kids, you think they'd still be investigating? Are you kidding me?
No, they if this was Trump's kids, they'd be in jail.
So that's the point. I mean, it's politicized to the point where it's nauseating.
Okay, so you think nothing's going to happen, or what?
I don't know what's going to happen.
Well, that's why I asked you.
And that's what I'm telling you.
You're a civil lawyer, I realize that, but you know what? You have a lot more knowledge than I do about how these things work.
Well, I think that if based on what we've heard and based on reports and based on videos and everything that's come out, then there should, in a perfect world, there would be charges. But look, who knows? I mean, when is the last time you heard of a high-profile Democrat facing any sort of serious charge?
Never.
I'm serious.
Never.
I mean,
I can't remember a time. Can you?
No. I mean, that's that's the whole point.
Yeah.
So you're asking me, is he going to face any charges? You're talking about the president's son.
Right.
So the DOJ, that's controlled by the Democrats. It's politicized. So I don't know what he's gonna. I don't think he's gonna.
Okay, let me give you a hypothetical then. Let's say the Republicans win the House and the Senate, so they're allowed to subpoena anyone they want to at any time and do an investigation. Would they have the kahunas to how far would they go, and how far would they go to doing what we just said, indict a president's son?
I think some would have the kahunas. People like Jim Jordan, they would. But unfortunately, as we've seen, the Republicans are not like the Democrats. Republicans splinter, and so you're going to have your holdouts that may not want to do that. So, look, it's hard to tell, but we spoke about this last time. The country's got bigger issues, than Hunter Biden. It is something that has to be investigated, but there are other things that need to be kind of fixed first. People aren't even sure that Biden is going to continue to be in office. So can you imagine you may have to deal with Kamala Harris?
Yeah. Well, they're going to run out of people pretty soon. I mean, who's going to run? But going back to your point that you say, well, we have bigger things. Well, excuse me, I'm not sure about that because of the influence that China seems to have over Joe Biden because of his son. I think that's a big deal. That's huge, the influence that they have, and it's making him do things like give them oil, give them forgiveness for the pandemic that was clearly from the Wuhan lab and stuff like that. And it's just it's affecting our foreign policy. If you look at Afghanistan and the Bagram base out there and all the weapons that are just miles away from China, and with access probably from Russia, he's given away all of our military secrets. $85 billion of first-class weaponry are left on the doorstep of China. Okay, and this didn't happen under Trump. It happened under somebody that's been compromised, his son, who was also paying dad. I mean, this is a huge deal to me.
I agree with you. It is a huge deal. But in the scheme of things, I think there are just more immediate issues right now that have to be you need to put a Band-Aid on the bleeding right now before you deal with some of these things. Like if Republicans take control of one or both houses, at least they can put a Band-Aid on Biden's policies. As far as investigating, they should investigate. And many have indicated that they would. I know McCarthy has indicated that they would start investigating. But there are bigger things right now, in my opinion. I do agree with what you said, though, that the implications are significant based on relationships with China.
Well, okay, I appreciate that, but somehow we got to break this two-tier system of law that is that favors one group of citizens over another. It's got to either be equal or we don't have law. What's the point of me obeying the law when half the country doesn't have to obey the law? What about you? Why should you do anything to obey the law?
You're 100% right, and that's what's happening here. I mean, look at what happened with Lee Zeldin. Based on what I read now, this guy is already out.
Yeah, he's already out
in New York, and people who threaten Supreme Court justices are allowed to stay, without any sort of repercussion. So, look, you're 100% right. It really makes you question, hey, if lawlessness is unpunished, what are all the people who comply with the law supposed to say?
Pretty soon it leads us down a one-way street to civil war. It has to happen because they get bolder and bolder and bolder with this. And they get more violent and more violent and more violent. And pretty soon, we can't just ignore this. We got to do something about it, legally or otherwise, or we're done as a country.
And it's taken as you're right, and it's taken in the totality. I mean, it's not only that they're becoming more violent, but in doing so, they're also trying to take away methods of defense. For example, they're trying to curtail the Second Amendment.
Right.
They are, you look at everything in its totality. We're letting crime is going up because our borders are open. So you have gangs and criminals coming in. And then you have Second Amendment rights being taken away. And you have lawlessness because we have a DOJ and prosecutors that are refusing to prosecute. So the totality is scary because we're heading down a road where, like we're seeing now. I mean, what is the last time? I mean, how often is it now that a Republican is threatened or attacked, a Republican leader of some sort?
It's pretty much every day.
Look
at the 1-6 committee. I mean, they're attacking them every chance they get. Look Absolutely. At the media. The media is attacking Trump every day. I mean, when his first wife died, they were accusing him of committing a crime like Epstein would commit. Or what happened to Epstein? Did she get Epsteined? This was on social media. And apparently that's no big deal to Twitter these days. They let it happen. So there is no commonality yet in our law. And who knew that in 10 years it would be such a big and growing split. And like
Trump knew 2 years ago. He knew. He warned us. He said, he told us what was happening. That there was it was an allegiance. And I just wrote about it. There's this allegiance that if you don't show allegiance to the left, to the far left, you're basically a traitor.
Yeah.
And Trump warned us about it. He knew.
Yeah, that was, and I'm not bringing back the argument about vaccines, but that word is used to people who refuse to take the vaccine, like me. You're a traitor. You're not a patriot.
Yeah,
because you refuse to take the vaccine. That's been. I think Biden just used that the other day. You're not a good American if you refuse the vaccine. Meanwhile, this thing is getting out of hand in terms of people actually having vaccines and being boosted that are getting the disease. But I don't want to go down that because I know how you feel about it.
No, listen, I just one point. I don't disagree that people who get the vaccine can get sick. I mean, obviously they can. We've seen that. Mm-hmm. So it's definitely not 100%, foolproof. But we just listen. It's okay. I mean, we have different perspectives on the vaccine.
Well, here's the problem with that. Everybody, including Joe Biden, 1 year ago said, "You get a vaccine, and you don't have to worry about this disease anymore." That's Fauci. That's Biden. Mark Siegel on TV. Every single physician said that. They don't. And my point to you is this: that means they don't know what they're talking about. There's something wrong. These are doctors. They're professionals. You listen to them, and they're not saying what's happening. That's my point. All right. In a column, you wrote that the Biden administration and Democrats are systematically trying to usurp state power. The example you use is the recent Roe v. Wade and Dobbs case, and also the election laws. So can you respond to that, please?
Yeah, Congress has really vast power. I mean, Congress can make laws, as you know. But the concern is that, states are given powers that are not specifically given to the federal government, basically, per the Constitution. So what did we see in these two cases? One, we saw on voting rights, right? The Constitution gives states the right to determine the time, place, and manner of elections. So what did the Democrats do? They proposed the Voting Rights Act and other such laws to what? To try to take the powers away from the states and to federalize it. Unfortunately, that failed,
Right.
but that's one example. So it's clear in the Constitution that some of these things belong to the states and that Congress does have the right to circumvent it, but that's rare. It's rare that Congress will get involved. Two, on the issue of abortion, the Supreme Court came out and said abortion is a state issue.
Right.
So what are we seeing now? We're seeing the Democrats, again, try to codify the issue of abortion. Again, taking it away from the states and deciding that, hey, for example, I think their bill said 25 weeks. So what if a state wants to say 15 weeks?
Mm-hmm.
So in essence, they're taking the power away from the state that the Supreme Court just said belongs to the states and trying to codify into law. And I'm not saying they are or are not allowed to do that. Congress can try to pass basically whatever laws they want, but within reason. But it's the act of trying to take away powers from the state that belong to the state. And I'm not even going to get into the issue of same-sex marriage, right? Assuming that Obergefell, the case wasn't decided by the Supreme Court, many people thought that case was decided incorrectly because that should have been an issue for the states to decide. So what are they doing now? Because they're worried about Justice Thomas's opinion. They're looking to codify it. What do
you mean codify? What does that mean?
They're trying to codify. They're trying to make it a law. But they're trying to make it a law. Congress wants to pass a law saying recognizing same-sex marriage and basically penalizing various states if they don't recognize this and that. And I'll tell you what, the Supreme Court already decided that issue, but Thomas objected to that and to other issues on we talked about it on substantive due process grounds. And now Democrats are having a hissy fit because they're worried about the Supreme Court potentially overturning that at some point. First, the Supreme Court's they're not going to overturn that case. All right?
Why not?
I personally didn't agree with that case.
Well, let me ask you: isn't that similar to the Dobbs Roe v. Wade cases? That this is not in the Constitution anywhere.
Well, that was the argument in the dissent. The dissent was basically saying, look, there's no. The federal government does not have the right to tell states how to recognize certain, whether to recognize certain types of marriage. That's a state issue because there's nothing in the Constitution, only that there's the right to marry, but there's nothing in the Constitution saying that there's the right to, same-sex marriage.
Okay.
But it's different than Dobbs in that Dobbs obviously involves a potential life. They're different than some of the other rights that we're talking about. But yeah, I'll tell you what, they're systematically trying. The federal government is trying to take control of all these different rights, some of which belong to the states. And that's why they did. That's why they tried to codify same-sex marriage also, because just on the possibility that the case, based on what Thomas said, that the court revisits this, they want to have a federal law in place that would basically, preempt any state law that says something else. They did. They tried it with voting. Right. They tried it now with the same-sex marriage. They tried it with elections, and they tried it with. They tried on everything, whenever they can.
Well, the one of the bright spots of the last couple of months has been the Supreme Court in terms of its will not to be broken over protecting the Constitution over the Roe v. Wade case. I mean, that was a good step for the Supreme Court, and there was a couple other things involving the EPA and things like that that seem to go along with the fact that you can't over-regulate everybody out of business. And so there's some positive stuff that went on. I thought that was a pretty big victory. Did you not?
Well, I did. I mean, I thought, like I said, I like that the Supreme Court is following the Constitution for the most part, but because of how the Democrats are acting, they are basically trying to circumvent or have workarounds what the Supreme Court is saying. I mean, forget the fact that they're arguing that either the Supreme Court, some of the really left, far left, that the Supreme Court is invalid as an institution and we should get rid of it. They're pushing to pack the court. Last night I was laughing. I was saying, you know how they say like the court in a 5-4 opinion. I was like, oh, the court in like a 45-40 opinion. Yeah. I mean, that's where we're going to get to if they start packing, because it's never going to end.
Right.
But they're trying to have workarounds. The Supreme Court says abortion is a state issue, so Democrats come and try to codify abortion. Right. Supreme Court says this, Democrats say this. So they're trying to work around it to the point where, hey, the Supreme Court only means that much. And that's not the way it's supposed to be.
Well, that's what they're doing. They do that with a lot of stuff.
Of course they do. And they can. They're allowed to do that. But it's just scary because it invalidates almost or minimizes the impact of the Supreme Court.
Sure, and it takes so long for cases to go all the way to the Supreme Court, and a lot of them may be set back to the lower courts. That sometimes you have 5 to 10 years to have to obey a law that is anti-constitutional. Is that true?
It takes. Yeah, I mean, I'm not a. Yeah, I mean, it takes a long time. I mean, look at Roe. Roe and Casey were good examples. I mean, the law was, according to the Supreme Court, the ruling and their conclusions were wrong for years, and people lived with them. But look, Dave, it's frightening what's happening. People have to come out and vote. I'm concerned about voting. I'm concerned.
And you wrote a column. Well, no, this wasn't about. Well, yeah, you wrote a column about Trump's speech in 2020 at Mount Rushmore. It looks like we are being replaced by illegal immigrants by Democrats, and I'm calling it an insurrection, and it's an invasion of our country, and it's meant to overturn elections. What do you say?
Yeah, well, I agree with you. I mean, I think, and I wrote about this a long time ago about the inflow and of people coming in and what the purpose was. And, Democrats weren't necessarily hiding it. They want people to come in. They want to fast track citizenship. They want to give them the right to vote. They're under the impression that, those who are coming in illegally will support Democrats and Democrat policies. If you asked me 10 years, if you asked me when Democrats were the party of old, if that was the case, I'd say, okay, maybe you have a higher likelihood. But depending on where these people are coming from, I'm not exactly sure they're going to want all of these policies. A lot of these people are coming in because they're fleeing the very policies that Democrats are promoting now. They don't want government control of everything. That's why they're coming here. So I don't know. I mean, but that's the goal. Yeah.
Well, they're losing the people that are already here, the Latinos that are already here, because they're going to be taking their jobs, and they see what's happening. They know what's happening, and then Democrats are losing Latinos. Like, I don't think they planned for that. Yes, dear.
I'll tell you what, Dave. All this talk about a red wave, my concern is election integrity. The
bingo.
I'm concerned about it. I'm concerned about mail-in votes. And I was talking to somebody who's involved with the Republican Party down here, and I asked her. I said, let me ask you a practical question. We have all these people. We have all these laws passing, and everything is supposed to be more secure. But how do we ensure that the people who are supposed to enforce the laws, the people in the election offices, the people who are supposed to confirm signatures, confirm valid IDs. How do we ensure that they're doing that? So all these laws that are in place, that's all great and it's fine and dandy. But at the end of the day, it depends how deep you dig until you find, something rotten. And that's my concern. Republicans, it's good. Yes, the country is opposed to what's going on. But tell you what, you better damn well make sure that you have your I's, your T's crossed and your I's dotted, because I don't think it's going to be as simple as, Republicans just wiping everyone out.
I think you're right. You're absolutely right. There is people are already saying, oh, yeah, we got it in the bag, and that's not a good thing. And Trump thought he had it in the bag, too. And he should have had lawyers in every darn swing state. This is hindsight, I realize. But he should have had lawyers in every swing state there was at those polls and witnessing this and really coming up with early evidence of what happened in that election.
Listen, yeah, I mean, it is hindsight, but I think they've learned a lot about what did or didn't happen, and I just hope that it's more than just talk what's happening. I hope that they are taking measures to really protect against that come November, because this is really it seems like every time we say it now, it's the most important election. But if Republicans don't take control of the House or the Senate, I don't know what's going to happen. 2 more years of 2 more years of this without any sort of pushback or any, because we can't, even with the way the composition is right now, we can't rely on all Republicans. So that's the problem.
I agree.
So if there was a bigger split, if Republicans controlled, even the rhinos that are in place would make less of an impact.
Yeah,
but now because it's so close, you can't rely on them. People swing.
We have to be as tough, if not tougher, than the Democrats, and we have to be unified.
Not only that, we have to be perfect right now.
Okay.
We have to assume that not every Republican agrees, and that's the problem. Could you imagine if there was no Joe Manchin? Could you imagine what would happen?
Yeah.
Joe Manchin is a rare, like a gem when it comes to the Democrats.
He is
Republicans. How many Republicans just voted to support the what was it?
Red flag laws.
Not only that, but I can't believe it. I can't remember if it was
There's other stuff too.
Bill that Democrats were pushing. You know how many Republicans supported it? I think
62?
it was the Defense of Marriage Act. I think in the House. Do you know how many Republicans?
62.
Tons.
Yeah.
Okay. Let me ask you something. If it was the reverse, you have any idea how many Democrats would have supported it?
Zippo.
0.
Yeah.
0.
Yeah. They have control of their legislators.
Even worse, even Alaska. Gun laws. How many Republicans supported the bipartisan gun regulations?
You talking about the red flag laws?
Yeah, whatever. Yeah, the bill that just passed, the bipartisan. Let me ask you something.
I think it was like 9 or 10.
How many Democrats do you think would support any sort of Republican proposed bill? 0.
0.
Okay, yeah. 0.
With a few exceptions.
Now's not the time, unfortunately, to play. To play this game. Republicans have to realize, and Trump said it best: if they don't toughen up, all right. I don't know how to say that. I mean, they're going to get their tail handed to them.
Yeah. Well, there you go. That's now we got the 1-6 committee, and I've got to get going because unless you want to hang on, I got you're probably pretty tired though. I've got Mark McCloskey and his wife Patricia coming on. Did you want to stay for that or?
I'll listen in.
Okay, that's fine. All right. Other than DaveWeinbaum.net, where can people find and hire you?
Find me on Twitter at Elad Hakim or Thoughtful GOP. I have both of them now. and Thoughtfully Conservative on Facebook, and Truth. Although I don't use Truth so much because I'm not understanding how to use it.
Me neither.
I don't know how to
try.
use it, but I'll listen in. And
all right, good.
Did you ever? By the way, did you ever get in touch with my friend that I sent you?
I'm already a friend of hers.
Okay.
On Facebook, but I appreciate that though. I appreciate you. Okay, you're good. You're a good guy. I used to live in a gated community myself, but they let me out for good behavior. So here I am. All right, I gotta run. Thanks. Shabbat shalom, my friend. Bye.
Bye.
Okay, we have our next. Wow, we're right into it. Okay, let's hit it. Hit the song. Champions, my friends. Ladies and gentlemen, faced a mob. This man and his wife faced a mob of over 300, led by Corey Bush, who attacked his and his wife's home and threatened his wife Patricia and both of them with death. Instead of running, they stayed and protected their homes with guns. And now he's suing, or maybe both of them are suing, Corey Bush, a sitting member of Congress. Please welcome to the show, Mike and Patricia McCloskey. Mark and Patricia, I caught myself. Sorry. Hi there. How are you?
I was going to correct you, but I never correct radio hosts.
Oh, that's all right. No, I need a correction. I was just reading what I wrote, and it's I corrected myself. David Dorn, you remember him, right?
I sure do. Yeah, I know Ann Dorn real well.
You knew him well. Okay, he was a black police captain in St. Louis, and he was killed in the June 2020 BLM riots while defending his friend's business. The accused murderer is now on trial, and I think he was convicted, found guilty. What are your comments on this in terms of Black Lives Matter?
Well, that Black Lives didn't seem to matter very much to him. I can tell you this, that night of June the 2nd, 2020, when BLM mob burned down downtown St. Louis, and they shot 4 police officers that night in addition to Captain Dorn. David Dorn was working secondary at a friend's pawn shop about a half a mile from my house. And, the left and the media can say what they want to about mostly peaceful protests, but people don't die from mostly peaceful protests, and people did die from this protest. And went on all summer. I mean, Patty and I were the first people, I think, in the entire nation to just stand up and say, no, we're not going to take it laying down. Not in our neighborhood, it won't.
Well, that took an awful lot of guts because you were getting advice from other people to get the hell out of there, weren't you?
Well, one of the good things about, if you're a criminal living in the city of St. Louis, you don't have to fear repercussions for crime. And so Corey Bush's organization, this Antifa organization called Expect Us St. Louis, advertised that they're going to have a mob action in our neighborhood. And they said in their advertisement, plus we have something special. And that was breaking into Portland Place and threatening us. And so, we anticipated that it would happen, which is why we had fire extinguishers set around the house, because we know they like to set fires, and guns around the house because we know they like to shoot people. And so we, and by the way, Rasheen Aldridge, who's in the Missouri House and also a leader of this Antifa organization, also somebody we've sued, we was on television either that day or the day before saying that they don't like the concept of peaceful protest. They have to break the law. And so this is what we're faced with. And
she called you and said that?
He was on television saying that. He was being interviewed. You also have to remember, my wife and I are Catholics, and the night before, on June the 27th of 2020, up at Art Hill, where Catholics go and pray at the statue of St. Louis, a bunch of BLMers came and beat them up because they were there.
Really?
And the head of this organization went on television and said, yeah, I beat him up, and I'm talking about some guy he beat with his own cane, and he deserved it because he was white. That guy didn't get arrested. I mean, he's not doing any time. None of the 350 to 500 people that broke down our gates, stormed our house, threatened us with murder and rape and arson, Not one of them has done a day in jail. And then think about the January Sixers.
Oh, yeah.
And think what the definition of a political prisoner might be, where you're doing now 18 months in solitary for crimes of what? Trespass?
Yeah.
Or parading without a license, or no claimed offenses at all, other than promoting the wrong political ideal.
And so what happened to the Colbert 8 or 7, whatever it was, who were charged with the same thing and let go?
Yeah, absolutely, and not just invading the Capitol and being on unauthorized on Capitol grounds, but then lying to the Capitol Police and everything else. So you have a country now where if you represent the elite power structure, you can do anything you want to. Read Hunter Biden, and if you're on the right, if you represent the people that respect the Constitution and individual liberties, you can be held as political prisoners forever, without any justice. And that's I say it every day when I get up and I get a chance to speak, that we're in a civil war right now.
Yes.
We're in a war between the people that seek to destroy our form of government and destroy our republic, and those of us that respect the Constitution and individual liberty and everything that has made this country the greatest country on earth.
Yeah. And I was just talking to Elad Hakim. You know him, right?
I do not.
Oh, okay. Someone you need to look into. He's from Boca Raton, Florida, and I've known him for a while. And he's going on shows like he started on my show. He's going on shows like he's going to be on Alan West's show. He's been on Jenna Ellis's show. Yeah. So the guy's really good.
I'm a big fan of Colonel West, and I've stayed in his home, and I think he's a great guy and done a great job for Texas, and I think he'd do a great job for the United States if we give him a chance.
And you ought to make a contact with Elad Hakim.
I would love to, yeah.
Because I tried to get him to stay, but he was tired. He got home late. Anyways, can you update us on the suit against Cori Bush and whomever else you're suing for this?
We filed a lawsuit against Cori Bush and Rasheen Aldridge for instigating this riot, for destroying our property, and ultimately for subjecting us to the onslaught of leftist prosecution, I call persecution, by our Soros-funded persecutor, Kim Gardner. And also for the cost of defending ourselves against that. Sure. And we're still battling that. We still have our bar licenses under sanction. I always say there's only one unforgivable crime in America today, and that's standing up against the left. And we're living it every day. But yeah, we sued them. I haven't gotten them served yet. I was kind of looking forward to maybe serving Cori Bush at her victory party here in the 1st District next Tuesday night.
Well, you better watch out. She's got $400,000 in security that she's been paying for. I guess that comes out of the government, right?
Well, some of it comes from the government. Some of it comes from her campaign contributions. But as she says, unlike the rest of us, her body's important.
That's right.
She stood on the Capitol steps, of course, and threatened my life. She said, McCloskey, I can't remember what accusation of inaccuracy, like he's a lying piece of you-know-what or something. Then she says, he spat on my name, and his day will come, right? Threatening my life on the Capitol steps. By the way, did she lose any committee assignments? Was she subject to any sanction? No. I don't think so. It seems to me that and by the way, she was one of the people making the fake arrest statement the other day, like AOC pretending to be in handcuffs.
Oh, yeah. Was she out there, too?
Yeah, she got arrested that day, too, or pseudo-arrested.
Yeah. Well, that's not a crime, so I guess you can't do much. And you had to have a cop or two to cooperate with that. Poor little Ilhan was back there without a cop to grab her hands, but she still had her hands pretend handcuffed behind her.
Well, if you can't get really arrested, pretending is the next best thing. If all you really want is a photo op, and you got a compliant press around the country that'll portray it as a right-wing oppression of minorities peacefully protesting. But you've got the President of the United States. I mean, I'm serious about this. You got the President of the United States who put his hand on the Bible and swore to uphold the Constitution and the laws of the United States, advocating and for the protests of the Supreme Court, advocating for protests in front of the Supreme Court justices' homes in violation of federal law. If that's not an impeachable offense, if Joe Biden advocating violation of federal law isn't an impeachable offense, I don't know what is.
So Biden's probably not going to run. Who do you think is going to take his place? Will it be Hillary? Kamala, or even Michelle?
Well, maybe the Easter Bunny will come and direct Joe Biden and tell him he needs to run again. Who knows these things? I have a strong suspicion that we will have a President Harris before the end of the first term, just because Joe's deteriorating at such a high rate. I don't know if you saw his speech in Saudi Arabia the other day, but he could barely stay awake through his own speech.
Well, they said he was sick.
It's just, I mean, you gotta envision our global adversaries trembling in fear when they see the leader of the free world falling asleep in his own speech.
Taiwan. I don't know if I'd want to be in Taiwan right now. Would you?
Yeah. So, let's assume that the dumbest human being ever elected to high office becomes president of the United States, and I mean Kamala Harris. How much more? Well, first of all, Joe Biden has as much to do with running this country right now as a desk I'm sitting in front of. But the powers that be will be able to run over Kamala Harris and whatever idiot she pretends to run the government, even more so than they are Joe Biden. And I think that this move, all of this, is an intentional move to what Joe Biden said on March 21st of this year. He was at the Business Roundtable CEO luncheon, and he says, an inflection point like this only comes around once every 3 or 4 generations, and we have to use this inflection point in the war in Ukraine to create a new world order. What he said verbatim was, there's going to be a new world order, and we have to lead it. And that's what all this is about. All this is just conditioning us to accept that single world socialist government, and they think that the American people have been sufficiently cowed to accept it right now. And that's why I'm doing what I'm doing. That's why my wife and I decided to put our lives on hold and fight back against this and try to save this country.
Well, I'm thrilled that you're doing it, but not enough Republicans, in my opinion, and Elad's opinion, are willing to cross the left to get them punished like you're being punished.
Yeah.
So,
well, and that's it. And that's what January 6ers are all about. That's why they're being held in solitary, so that all the people that would otherwise stand up against the left are afraid of joining them in prison, right? And when you see somebody like Peter Navarro being arrested at the airport and put in leg irons and strip searched, that's not because of anything Peter Navarro did. That's to tell the entire nation, you behave or else.
Absolutely true. Now you got now let's talk about the southern border, because they're going to have up to 2 million people who are a lot of illegals that have no identification. They're actually getting wined and dined, actually getting fed, actually getting as soon as they cross the border, they're getting into buses and then taxis to airports, free air rides to all over the country, and even the ones that have no ID and that they might have a arrest report. They're showing the arrest reports to get on these planes as if they're like passports or something.
Now, Patty and I have been down to the border, and we've seen it. I can tell you it's worse than anything you see on television, because our government is in active cooperation with the cartels.
Sure.
We've been down on the border. They do it in the middle of the night when they think nobody's watching. Customs and Border Patrol knows how many people they're going to get and where they're going to put them before they cross the Rio Grande. They got the buses lined up and ready to go. You go down to the Rio Grande, we've got Klieg lights set up, lighting up the Mexican side of the border. The cartels having in the case of the one I filmed, mostly young adults and unescorted minors, load them up into rubber rafts, walking them across the river, handing them off to Customs and Border Patrol, who then literally open the gate to America, physically a gate, march them up the hill, and start loading them on buses. Mm-hmm. We asked a 9-year-old girl from Guatemala where she was going in the United States, and she said New Haven, Connecticut. Now, mind you, she got off a rubber boat about 5 minutes earlier and already had a place assignment, new clothes, new shoes, presumably new ID and everything else, and a new home in New Haven. And that cannot happen unless our government is actively involved in supporting this human trafficking through the cartels.
And let's talk about insurrection. Now, this started in 19...
Oh, by the way, I'm going to say one other thing.
Yes.
There's this thing called Article 4, Section 4 of the Constitution, which nobody mentions. And I've been an advocate of this for a long time. It says the United States shall guarantee to every state in the Union a Republican form of government and shall protect each of them against invasion. What the heck's going on the southern border if it's not an invasion?
Of course it is. It's an insurrection, too, because the purpose of this invasion started in 1965 when Johnson signed the immigration bill, and they started to change the immigration. And now it's gotten to the point where they're actually openly saying, we're going to replace with people of color, with people from different countries that don't want them, that this country that doesn't want them. We're going to replace all the other people, meaning white people, basically, or conservatives. We're going to replace them all. Don't need them.
Let me say a little bit about that. I think the left is going to be a little shocked because the average Latin American family are three things. They're typically religious Catholics. Mm-hmm. They believe in strong family values, and they want to work and succeed. That sounds like Republicans to me.
Yeah.
And if they think they're going to bring them into this country and automatically have all these people, once they're given voting rights, support the Democrats, I think they'll be a little shocked to find out that most of these folks, they'd love to come in legally if they could, but when they've got an open door, they'll come in any way they can. But what they really want to do is work hard and succeed, and that's antithetical to everything the Democrats stand for.
I agree with that. Is it enough, though? I don't know. I
don't know. And obviously, the concept is to dilute the voter base and undermine the economy. Because obviously, right now, I've got 97,000 miles on the vehicle since this campaign started on May the 18th of 2021. And every place we go, every business has got a sign out saying now hiring all positions.
Yep.
Americans don't want to work. They've been trained by this government to be lazy, to sit home, to sit in their basements, and to get paid to do nothing. But there is a lot of people out there in the world that like the idea of work, like the idea of being self-sufficient, and like the idea of making a living. And they're coming in droves. And that's not in the best interest of the United States, not in the best interest of the average American worker, and certainly not in the interest of hardworking, tax-paying citizens who are now going to have to pay for their education, their health care, as you mentioned, their free plane travel. And by the way, you go to McAllen, Texas, you go to the airport. If you're an American citizen, in those days you had to show a vaccine passport, you had to have a mask on, you had to show real ID. But if you're an illegal alien, you get walked around security and put on a private plane with no mask, no ID, no real ID, and flown at our expense to secret destinations in the middle of the night. And this is supposed to be a free republic.
Yep. And so you got now these D.C. mayors, D.C. Mayor Bowser and Adams in New York City. They're all mad because some of the southern states, Governor Abbott in Texas, they're busing people to New York, and they're busing people to D.C. And so they're getting a little bit of what's happening across the country in their towns, and they weren't expecting it, and they're mad because they have to house some immigrants. Okay.
Yeah. Well, here's the thing. I take a broader view of all this stuff. I mean, I've seen it myself. I've seen hundreds of unescorted minors put on buses and driven away. What right does our government have to take these kids as hostages or prisoners or sex slaves or just kidnap them and distribute them somewhere in the dark of night in planes all over the country? If you or I were to go down there and take some 9-year-old girl from Guatemala and put her in the back of our car, we'd be arrested and put in prison for the rest of our lives. But our government, without any outcry from anybody that I've heard, not from any Republican senator or congressman, said, why is our government kidnapping these kids and distributing them around the world in secret with no inquiry? If I were Governor Parson, for example, and one of these plane loads of unescorted minors lands for refueling in Jeff City or lands to distribute people like they've done, I'd surround them with the state police and say, you're all under arrest unless you can show some legitimate reason why you should have possession of these kids. But nobody's doing that. Nobody's even questioning it.
Well, there's big money involved here, and there's big money between the Democrats and the cartels. So my question to you is, what's the cut? What does the cartel get to keep, and how much are they giving to the DNC? And by the way, what are they paying the big guy?
Yeah. We certainly have a criminal element that has a significant influence over our current government, and obviously, people can say what they want to about the legitimacy of the last presidential election, but the fact that the mainstream media prohibited learning the truth about Hunter Biden and Joe Biden's relationship before that election. That one fact by itself is enough to turn the outcome of the election. But yeah, we've got people that
right.
When Joe Biden says, "I've never had any discussions with my son about his business relationships," that's obviously a lie. It's now a provable lie.
It's provable now, yeah.
To call Hunter Biden the smartest person that he's ever met, if Joe Biden really means that, then Joe Biden's never met very many human beings. But it's so corrupt on so many levels. You got Nancy Pelosi's husband buying tech stocks the day before the government does a $41 billion bailout of the companies that he's investing in. All this is so corrupt that if you or I did it, we'd go to jail. But the Democrats do it, the politicians do it. And by the way, Republicans are involved in this too. Just because you've got an R in your name, behind your name, doesn't mean you're immune to the self-dealing that goes on up there.
That's why we have rhinos. They're doing... I mean,
that's the one reason why what I've said to everybody, we got an election coming up a week from Tuesday. But, my candidacy is all about showing the world, shocking the world, and letting somebody who's not controlled by billionaires, who's not doing it for self-interest, who doesn't have any lobbyists or general consultants controlling them, how wonderful it would be to show the world that the billionaires and the lobbyists don't have to always win. That just a genuine, independent, constitutional conservative can get elected and just say, no, we're not going to do what we're told by the billionaires. No, we're not going to be influenced by billionaires' TV commercials. We're going to actually think for ourselves and pull back this consent of the government and to send somebody to D.C. that actually represents the people and not the ruling class.
Well, I think that put a cap on it, and I want to wish you and Patricia a lot of luck, and I support you. And other than DaveWeinbaum.net, where can people find and contribute?
McCloskey4Senate.com. It's McCloskeyfor Senate.com, McCloskey4Senate.com, and contributes one thing, but it's a week from Tuesday for the election. The most important thing people can do now isn't send money, but to just go out and beat the bushes, tell their friends and relatives, tell the people at work that there's one guy out there who's not a career politician, doesn't need to be a politician, never been a politician, but has just made a pledge to himself, his God, and his country to do everything he can to save this nation and pull back our freedoms. And if you want that to happen, you can't do it by voting for people that have been in Congress for 12 years or been in politics for 17 years, or for that matter, people that are sociopathic egotists. But you can vote for some guy who's going to make his life, regardless of the outcome of this election, a movement for the freedom of this nation. And ladies and gentlemen, we need to do that movement. If we're going to save this country, we need to do it right now.
JP wants to say something to you.
So,
Sure.
So Mark, living here in Raleigh, I can tell you I'm starting to see a lot more Mark McCloskey signs up everywhere.
Good.
So even in my neighborhood, we're seeing even more. So I think people are starting to get the message.
I hope so. It's a big race.
I sure hope so. We've got a new poll out that shows an independent poll not related to any campaign that says that I'm now tied with Eric Greitens, and the only person ahead of us now is Eric Schmidt. Eric Greitens' numbers are creating Vicky Hartzler after being, getting the treatment she got legitimately from Donald Trump. Her numbers are plummeting, and so we're surging, and we're hitting every place we can be. We've got 10 more county fairs to do before the end of next week. We've been every place so far, like I say, 97,000 plus miles on the vehicle, and I've got kind of this oddball concept. But if I'm going to represent the people of Missouri, I should meet as many of them as possible. And by the way, I've got my personal cell phone on my campaign stuff. So if anybody wants to ask me what I feel about something, call the number on my website. It's my cell phone.
All right. I shouldn't probably say this to you because this is not funny. I mean, it's important. But this is for good luck because I don't want you to feel bad. I applied for a job as an astronaut, but they ran out of space. Ladies and gentlemen, Mark McCloskey, vote for him on next Tuesday, right?
Absolutely.
The 2nd.
August the 2nd, we're number 10th on the ballot, but August the 2nd, vote for Mark McCloskey.
All right. Thank you so much. Hi to Patricia.
I sure will. Thanks, Dave.
Bye-bye. Okay. All right. Boy, he was livid.
Yeah, he always has a lot to say, and it's good stuff.
It's good stuff. It's darn good stuff. Okay, the lines are free now. Call me at 573-578-2700. Let's look at a few messages we got here from Kathy Sandford Dillon. Martha Stewart did jail time. Okay, and also she said, good morning, Lisa and Dave. Have a fantastic weekend. All righty.
Yeah, Martha Stewart, though, was a celebrity. She was not a Democrat lawmaker or Democrat. I'll just make that point because
I'm wondering if she was a liberal or not.
I don't know if she is or
you're
not.
Supposed to get a pass. Do they actually give you a pass or something? Or
most do.
How you flash your pass?
Pretty much.
I remember that guy Sussman. Remember, he was the lawyer. He actually had a key to the FBI.
Yep.
He had a key to the FBI office, and he was being charged with lying to the FBI.
The last Democrat I ever remember kind of getting in trouble, but he really didn't in the end, was Clinton when he lied under oath about the whole thing with Monica Lewinsky.
Oh, yeah.
Matter of fact, he lied under oath and didn't even get removed from office. Now, they did impeach him and brought charges against him, but he never actually got removed and then got reelected. So
Sure. Well, let me go back to my conversation about Clarence Thomas. We're not going to get any more clips in. That was good stuff. Go to Tucker Carlson's last couple of shows, and you're going to find wonderful stuff. He's just on it lately. I don't know what it is, but he's got the pulse of what's going on with Clarence Thomas. So I knew the guy smoked cigar. Oh, I had an idea for McDonald's. And he was working in conjunction with the White House. This is before he became a Supreme Court justice. This was in the Reagan White House, and I had this thing going where my idea was to have senior citizens get their discounts at McDonald's and get other benefits and make McDonald's the center of these senior citizens getting it. And I told it to my lawyer, Harvey Tettelbaum, and apparently he went and told Clarence Thomas, who was in a White House meeting, and told Tettelbaum, he says, hey, get this guy's suggestion up. We were just talking about it with the president, and he thinks it's a good idea. So he says, get McDonald's in on it, too. So I went and saw the McDonald's guys in Oak Brook, Illinois, and talked to two of them, the head of promotion and the head of advertising. And the head of advertising, Paul Schrage, told me, well, that's not my stuff. That's promotion. Then I went to the promotional guy. I kind of forget his name. And he says, well, that's not my problem. That's advertising. So what these people did, these two leaders of McDonald's, is take this possible great idea sponsored by the government, the then President of the United States, Ronald Reagan, who had told Clarence Thomas to get this guy going on it. They took this huge amount of money and they threw it away. And so that didn't happen. But I did go to see Clarence in 1993. It was May of 1993. And I remember it was one day when I walked up the steps of the Supreme Court while Jesse Jackson was out there preaching to little kids about you are somebody, you are somebody. And I came into the court. It was in session. They were talking about some Indian land owned or whatever, or it was in litigation. And so I came to the desk and they said, well, who are you here to see? I said, I'm here to see Justice Thomas. And they looked at me, it's really strange. And they says, well, why you want to see him? I says, well, I have an appointment. And they says, well, nobody comes to see him. I said, okay, well, I'm here. They says, okay, go sit in that room. So I sit in this room. It's a big room. I'm the only person there. And even the furniture was big. I sat up on a stool, and my legs were dangling about 5 feet from the floor. Finally, some little guy comes in there, pokes his head in the door. You Mr. Weinbaum? I says, yeah. He says, follow me. Okay, this is all really weird, let me tell you. So I follow him to the office and get in the outer office, and I'm talking to the staff, shaking hands and stuff like that. And somebody comes out of Clarence's office and says, Mr. Weinbaum, the judge is ready to see you. I said, okay, I'm in. So I brought him some cigars. I figured that he was going to just do a photo op because they're in session, right? So I gave him some cigars. He gave me one of his. We smoked cigars for like an hour and had a great conversation about what to do about the black community fighting with each other and not living the American dream. And here's a man that had he had no father involvement in his life. His grandfather took care of him and straightened him out. And he said, we had a great conversation. Let's put it like that. And I couldn't believe he did it. Anyways, that's my story. I'm sticking to it. Thank you so much. I know this show went great today, so thank you so much for participating.